and welcome back to day 3 of DSC WOW. I'm Himanji as your host again.
And I'm Piyush. Thanks to all our sponsors for sponsoring this event. Title sponsors Killer Edge, Platinum sponsor Air Meet, Mysore Tourism, and Pritpali.
And gold sponsors Upstone and Nextax. Before moving forward, I want to know how excited are you guys for today's session? Let the comments pour in. So, Piyush, how excited are you for today's session?
Well, I am hell excited for today, like 2 days of session from starting from machine learning, then blockchain, design thinking, community building, and today, guess what? Flutter and web, much more to learn, and I'm really excited for today.
I really agree with you. The most in power right now, tech stacks going on around the world, web always, it's always in power, and also the Flutter.
Yep,
So
indeed, I agree with you.
let's see the comment sections now. If we have any people who are very much excited. Oh, that's
Yes,
great.
they are. So, without any delay, let's quickly go through the agenda for today. For the agenda for today is we have first Mrinal Jain with introduction to Flutter. Then we have Vijrat Singh with web development and design thinking. Then guess what? Quiz where you can win awesome goodies and swags. Last but not the least, we have Sanskar Tiwari sir building chat apps with Flutter and Firebase.
It's really gonna awesome.
So quickly going through the first session on introduction to Flutter. Please welcome Mrinal sir.
Minal sir is professionally a front-end developer at Field. Also, he is also passionate about open source and web technologies. Minal sir is the lead of Facebook Developer Circles Indore and one among the 200 global leads for Mozilla open source community. Welcome, sir, and over to you for the amazing session.
Hello everyone. So welcome everyone to this session. I'm pretty excited to just be part of this amazing event. Just let me know if I'm audible, and we'll start the session with that. Also, let me know in the comment sections which city are you from and which college are you from, so that we just get to know that okay, like this event is really having a global reach. Great. So. Okay. Great. I can see a lot of comments. Okay. So without further ado, let's start the session. So some useful information. Let's keep this session a dialogue. So if you guys have any questions in between whatever I'm speaking about, any doubts regarding any question regarding any topic which I'm speaking on, just feel free to ask in the comment sections. As soon as I'll get some time in between the session, I'll just make sure that I'll answer your questions, or else we can have a small 5 to 10 minutes Q&A session at the end of the session. So just make sure that you do it. Great. Let's start with the introduction to Flutter. I'm really excited for it. So yeah, let's begin. So before the introduction, I would like to quickly wrap up my introduction. I'm Mrinal Jain. I'm working as a community lead for Facebook Developer Circles in Central India. I'm managing the DevC community from past 2 years in Central India region, especially Madhya Pradesh and nearby cities. So that's about it. I'm also a Mozilla representative and tech speaker for Mozilla. I usually speak about their web technologies like WebVR and stuff. That is there. I was also a Microsoft student partner during my college days. I am proud to say that, so I still keep that in my introduction. Yes, I'm also a community manager for Free Code Camp, the organization which usually organizes Hour of Code every December. I'm also an international partner for Code.org, the same organization. I'm a developer evangelist, and last but not the least, I'm also a front-end developer for WTFeed, a full-time front-end developer, which is now known as the stage. So cool. That was the introduction of my introduction, and then now let's quickly shift towards today's agenda. So as the introduction went by, that today there are 2 sessions on Flutter. So the initial session which I'll be taking, there would be a lot of introductory notes about Flutter, and the later session which would be happening where there will be having a hands-on part of it. So today in this session, we'll be answering a lot of questions about Flutter, that why Flutter, how it started, where to use. A lot of questions we'll be answering. So all my slides would be based on all these questions. So great. So the very first question is, what exactly is Flutter? Great. So if we go by the definition, I can quickly say that Flutter is a mobile SDK which is designed by Google, and it's basically meant for creating high performance iOS, Android, web, Mac OS, Windows, Linux OS applications. Yes, I named a lot of operating systems, and that's perfectly true. Flutter is used to make all these applications, and that too with just single code base. I'll name those operating system again: iOS, Android, web, Mac, Windows, and Linux. You can create applications for all these operating system with the help of Flutter, with the help of just one single code base. So that is the basic thing, and that's the only reason why Flutter is like really in the boom nowadays. So this is the 4 things which I have mentioned, and there are lots and lots of community contributions which are happening with the help of community members just like you and me, who are really enthusiastic about open source contribution and stuff. So that's the reason Flutter is really booming in the young developers, in the area of young developers. There's one misconception about Flutter. You can't call it misconception, but it's the general trend which is going regarding the Flutter, that Google created Flutter in response to React Native. That is the general terms. If I can see it in the comment section as well, that a lot of guys are saying that React Native is better or Flutter is better, Flutter versus React Native. But in my opinion, these two are completely different when you see them closely. Because let's take an example of React. React uses HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Not exactly HTML, but JSX, right? So React uses that for the complete development cycle. But when it comes to Flutter, Flutter is just using one single language for all its performances, which is Dart. Correct? Let me know in the comment section if you guys know about Dart, or if someone has ever used it. So this was the basic difference which I wanted to mention, because React is using all the languages which is generally known to us. As I told that it was HTML, CSS, and JavaScript stuff, but Flutter uses Dart, which is just single code base stuff. Correct? Great. I can see that a lot of people has used Dart. That's really great. So now, since the definition of Flutter is clear to us, that what exactly Flutter is and where we can use it. Now, who is Flutter for? So basically, I kept this question because it's not just for developers. When it comes to Flutter is not just for developers, because designers can also use the Flutter. Because talking about Dart language, it's relatively new, but it's very easy to learn. It's in comparison to HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, you have to learn 3 different stuff to perform activity. For designing, you need to learn CSS. For making structure, you need to learn HTML. For providing functionality, you need to learn JavaScript and stuff. But when it comes to Dart, you just need one programming language, and you can help with the help of that particular Dart, you can create UI, as well as you can provide the functionality to that UI, as well as you can make some designing changes to that particular UI with the help of Dart. So that's the beauty of Flutter, and that's the beauty of Dart. Just with the help of just one language, you can do all that stuff. So that's why I have kept that even designers can also create some really good prototypes with the help of this Flutter. And I've seen so many companies nowadays directly creating their MVPs. MVP, when I say MVP, it's a minimal viable product. They're creating their MVPs with the help of Flutter, and even designers are directly creating the MVPs with the help of Flutter, and delivering the actual or semi-working mobile applications to the developers, so that it really loosens the gap between the designers and developer, because designers and developers generally have a discussion or a fight about the design and perspective, that this is what you have created, this is not possible in actual coding, and all this stuff happen. But with the help of this Flutter and widgets which are there in Flutter, designer can actually implement whatever design he is trying to create, and he can then deliver it to the developer. So that's what it is. Flutter is for designers as well as developers. And for developers, as I've already mentioned, there are lots and lots of benefits. If there's one single code base which is giving you a functionality, or which is giving you an output of 4 to 5 different operating systems, with just one code base, you can give output of Android and iOS app. That's the best part of it, correct? Another thing why Flutter is being used or being adopted by a lot of companies is because for me, Flutter seems like a business solution. When we talk about a business solution, for example, there are lots of companies nowadays, like there's Netflix, there's Zomato, there's Dream11, you might have heard about. So I'll give you the latest example of Dream11. So Dream11 just had their Android application before, but what business solution Flutter provided them was, they shifted their Android application to Flutter initially, and then directly with the help of Flutter SDK, they generated their iOS app without any problem, and without any developer cost or anything. So this is the business solution which Flutter is providing. You tend to use less number of developers, you tend to use less timing. There's lots of money and developer hours which are saved if you are using Flutter. So that's the another important aspect of why and who should be using Flutter. So the companies who are looking for really fast growth and quick development cycles and stuff, they should be using Flutter, and they're already using Flutter. There are so many companies. The latest example is Google Pay applications, which you are seeing. It's completely built out of Flutter. Google Pay application, that's the best example. And let me know in the comment section if you guys have used any application which is like really rich in feature and is built with the help of Flutter. So yeah, that was the one thing which I wanted to share. Great. So let's move ahead now. I spoke a lot of things about Dart, right? There was one important feature which I forgot to mention about Flutter, was hot reload. You might have heard about hot reload feature in web, because that's how everyone has grown towards becoming a developer. A lot of us start with HTML and CSS websites, correct? So when it comes to HTML and CSS, you just need to refresh the browser, and that's how you get the changes, whatever changes you have made in the code. But it was not the case when it in the mobile development cycle. You had to build or rerun the complete app again if you do any small changes in the code. So Flutter provided the feature of hot reload, and hot reload is as it goes by the name. You just make any changes in the code, save the file, it automatically to your mobile application or the debug applications which you have connected to your device or the laptop with the help of USB cable. So that is one feature which Flutter really provides. Now, let's come back to the Dart. So I spoke about Dart, that Flutter is nothing uh, without Dart, correct? Because Dart is the actual programming language which is being used inside Flutter. So let's leave aside Flutter for a while and let's talk about Dart. So Dart being a new programming language, uh, it's generally there's a misconception that like we should learn new programming language, we should switch to new programming language or not, because there are lots of features, there's lots of things available for Android, there are lots of things available for iOS. Why should we, or is it good to switch to Dart? So just a suggestion from my side, just a normal suggestion from my side, that like projects are really important when it comes to learning any programming language, correct? Projects really make you perfect when you are learning any new programming language. So the process which you should follow while learning a new programming language at some point in your career is that just read few stuff about that programming language and quickly jump onto a project. Do that project. If you face any problem, again switch to the docs of that for a while, and then again switch to the project, because you can't just keep on learning everything. Basically, there's no 100% of learning. I'm still learning JavaScript till date. I started somewhere around like 5 years before, and I'm still learning JavaScript. So there's no 100% of any programming language that you can't learn it for 100%. So quickly jump onto the projects and then quickly jump onto the programming language again, so that you can keep on learning process your learning process for a while. So that's how you can go ahead with the Dart as well, because Dart is really important. It gives you so many product rich features. You can create mobile applications, you can generate a web build as well. So that you don't even need a website now. You're just coding in Dart and you have a website, a mobile application as well. So that's how really important it is. Cool. So a few important things about Dart which I would like to share now. First and foremost, we have been saying that it's a new language, but actually it's not. Dart is existing since 2012. Yes, if someone knows, just let me know in the comment section. Dart existed in 2012. Some of you might have used Angular. I'm not talking about Angular JS. I'm talking about Angular. In Angular, in the very first version, there was no TypeScript. There was Dart. The Angular very first version, which was Angular JS, correct? The very first version of Angular, which was Angular JS, it was built with the help of Dart. But due to some functionality issues, or due to some like some other issues, or like it was not maybe working great at that particular time in 2012, Google dropped the idea of using Dart at that particular time, and then they started with TypeScript in Angular. So at that time Dart existed. So that is the thing which is there. So Dart is there, and work on Dart is being going on since that particular time. So it's not a new language. Also, it's object oriented. So the word object oriented, whenever the word object oriented comes, right, you just start thinking about classes, objects, and polymorphism and inheritance and all this jargons. But yeah, that's how it is. Like, you all must be familiar with this stuff, right? You all must be. It's object oriented, so it will be definitely easy for you guys to just catch up with the Dart, correct? And it's very similar to C and JavaScript or Java, because all the things like loops and conditions and switch statements and all this stuff, variables and all this stuff, it's like almost all the programming languages are same in this stuff. But yes, if you are shifting from JavaScript or Java background, basically from a web developer background, it would be very easy for you to just quickly get to know about Dart, because it's almost the same, the writing and stuff, correct? It's statically typed, So those who don't know what exactly the statically type thing means is, like, whenever you declare a variable, you need to also mention what type of or which type of data will be stored inside that particular variable. Correct. So that's how that's what a statically typed language means. So in Dart as well, you need to basically mention, for example, I'm defining a variable which would be having a name of a city, so I need to mention that it's a string. Similarly for all the variables like integers, booleans and stuff. So that's one thing which you should know about Dart. Correct. And the last thing, which is it has multiple run environments, which I've already mentioned, that just when you write Dart, in output you can expect different platforms code. You're writing Dart, but if you'll generate a iOS build out of it, it would be converted into the Swift code. If you are generating a Android build out of it, it would be converted into that particular specific Java Kotlin environment. If you are creating a web build out of it, the code would be converted into that particular TypeScript environment. So that's how that's the really important feature of the Dart, that it runs on multiple environments, and there's no mediator which is required. You just need Flutter SDK. That's all. So these are the really important features which are there for Dart, and it also gives you an assurance that there's nothing new to Dart. It's just the name of the programming language, and few things in bits and pieces which you should just get to know, and you can start working with the Dart. And talking about the working environment, it's VS Code is the best place where where you can work with it. Okay, so great. Now coming back to the Flutter. So now we have a basic understanding of Dart. You can for learning Dart, you can definitely go to the docs of the official docs of the flutter.io website, and there you will be getting so many documentations, especially if you are switching from a web developer side, like you used to write HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and now you want to write Flutter. There's a whole series of documentation available. And similarly for different cases, if you were an Android developer and then you were shifting to Flutter, there's a documentation available for that as well. Same for iOS developer and other stuff as well. Great. I've been receiving a lot of questions regarding the Flutter web. Flutter is available for web build as well, but it's still in beta mode. But the beta mode is also looks really great. I have like personally tried a few websites, and it really works really well. So you just need to use it in the beta mode. So basically Flutter is available in different channels. One being the master channel, which is directly connected to the master repository of the Flutter repository, and then there are stable channel, there is beta channel, and this stuff. So it's suggested to use stable channel for the development builds, but if you want to use the web version of Flutter as well, you need to switch to the beta channel of the Flutter. So that's how it goes. There are 3 to 4 channels on which Flutter is available. So that's how it is. Great. So coming back to the Flutter part of it. So I was talking about why Flutter is really important, and why we should adopt it, and why it is good for the developers as well as the designers as well. Correct. So if we have a look at this UI part of a screen which is visible to you guys. So when talking to a designer and a developer regarding this particular screen, it's clear that we'll definitely receive 2 different answers, right? From a designer point of view and from a developer point of view, we'll receive 2 different information regarding this particular, or 2 different observations regarding this particular UI. Correct. And which will obviously lead to 2 different understanding for the same UI. Correct. Because developer looks at the design from the basically from the row and column perspective, right? That okay, this would be built in a row and this would be built in a column and stuff, correct? And designers might tend to think in different direction. It comes like when it comes to designing. But what Flutter gives is if a designer also has a knowledge of Flutter, correct? So and developer also has a knowledge of Flutter, so they can together have a same thinking regarding Flutter, because Flutter is also like designing UI on Flutter is also based on the grid system, just like we use it in the HTML, or talking about HTML, Bootstrap generally, what we use a grid system, and other CSS frameworks provide us. It also provides us a grid system, but more flexible grid system when I say, because in Bootstrap and in other CSS frameworks, we generally tend to get stuck at a lot of places, that how we'll do this, how we'll do that. But that's not the case in the Flutter. So if we had to divide this particular UI in different sections, so this is what it might look like, correct? Initially we'll be having a column. We have a column widget in Flutter as well, and then inside that particular column, if an item is a full width item, you don't need to do anything, just place an image. And if there's an item which has there's a row which has multiple items, then you can create multiple grids of that particular item. So this is how it would look. So if we had to divide, there are rows and columns which are mentioned, and there are grids. If you will see, there's a call, route, and share, footer. So there's a grid also happening. Is there any overlapping element? If there is any overlapping element, just like we had an option of positioning elements in HTML and CSS, we have a stack widget available in Flutter as well. And trust me, like positioning elements in HTML was really hard. Like the position, static position. I haven't used HTML in so many days. There are, I guess, 4 types of positions: static and all that stuff, fixed and stuff. It's really it really gets messy to like manage all that stuff. But there's just one single stack element available in Flutter, which really helps you a lot. It just quickly helps you with the positioning of the elements. So if there are any overlapping elements, you can use stack widget. I'm using the term widgets a lot. Widgets will come to the later part. Basically, you can understand widget as a similar concept like a HTML tag used to be. There was a div in HTML, and there was a different span and all those stuffs in HTML. And in Flutter, there are different widgets, but they are really useful. So, and then going ahead with the design, are there any tabs? We can have a look at it. Are there any padding, alignments, or borders in the design? So this is what the common perspective of developer and designer would be, and it would be much easier to sort of build the design if it's clearly worked with the help of the Flutter. Cool. Now I've brought down that particular design to more granular level, so that it's easier for those people to understand who are not from the HTML CSS background, that how to basically divide, or how to divide a design into much granular parts, so that you can understand that, okay, this is how I need to code this particular part of the design. So taking just one row, you can then divide that particular row into 3 different grids, and then every particular grid would be having a column, because icon and the text which is related to that particular icon are coming one above other. So that's how it is. And then again, that particular icon and that particular text. So all this red highlighted area which you are seeing, everything, every red box in Flutter is a widget. So the icon which you are seeing at the uh, lowest level, that is a widget in Flutter. Text which you are seeing, share, route, and call, that is also a widget in Flutter. The whole red row which you are seeing, that is a widget. Every particular group of icon and text which is inside a column is also a widget in Flutter. So there's everything available, every design or every design concept is available in form of a widget in Flutter. You don't need to do anything. Rest everything would be managed by Flutter. You just need to use that particular widget, and rest everything, responsiveness and managing that padding and stuff in between the icons and different mobile screens and stuff, that all is taken care by Flutter. You just need to pick the correct widget option, and that's all you need. And there's another example, again a bit complex one, but yeah, that's how you will divide it into Flutter widgets. There would be a row, and then there would be a column in which there are text one another, and then again there's icon and there's a text. So this is how you divide a UI while creating the actual code out of it. This is how it happens. Great. So that was the UI part of it. Now if we want to have a look at the actual code part of it, so I have created a small comparison in between HTML and Dart. So for creating a simple box in HTML, what we have to do is we have to create a div, and I have given it a class of gray box. So that's the HTML part of it. Now we'll come to the CSS part of it. I gave a background color, width, height, and font. So you can just imagine in your minds that how it will be looking. Correct? How it would be looking is it would be a box with a width of 320 pixel and a and a height of 240 pixel, and the background color would be somewhere around gray, and the font size would be 900 pixels, and font weight would be 900, size would be 24 pixel, and the family would be Georgia. So it's a shorthand for mentioning all the font properties. So that's how it would be looking. So now let's come to the Dart part of it, right? So I have taken I'm defining the complete widget inside a variable. So variable's name is container, so that I can use it wherever I want to. So the actual part of the Dart starts from the definition of the variable. So I'm taking a container initially. So just like div is there in HTML, there's container inside the Flutter. Everything is a class in a Flutter. When I'm speaking about widget, you can in terms of object oriented programming, you can understand it as a class, correct, or an object. So I have taken a container, then container's child is another widget, and the name of the widget is text widget. Why? Because we need to write lorem ipsum inside it. So I have defined a text widget inside. Now right there you can also define style. You can also define style in HTML as well, but you need to write CSS over there. Here it's everything is in the form of key value pairs when it comes to Dart. So right below the text property, you can define the style property of that particular text. It's easier to understand: font size, font weight, and font family. So that completes our text widget. Now continuing the code, you can provide the width, which is 320, then the height, and then the color. So this complete line of code will give you the same gray box which we used to create. So this is the basic comparison when it comes to HTML and Dart, and you must be now feeling that okay, it's not that difficult. It's pretty much easier to shift from HTML to Dart. So basically, this example I gave just to make all those web developers feel comfortable who want to shift to mobile application development from web development, because it's the best bridge possible ever to quickly shift from web development to mobile app development. That is Dart and Flutter. So this was the example which you can see, and almost all the widgets are similar. This was just one example. There are so many things available in HTML, which is like select box, model, bottom sheets, and stuff. Similarly, there are all the widgets available in Flutter as well. You can go to the website, which is flutter.dev/docs development UI. I'll share this in the comment section and with the team as well, so that they can give it to you, or I'll share the PPT at the end. So there are lots and lots of widgets of Flutter which are available. you can just Google it, Flutter widget catalog, and you'll see that there are all the widgets available, buttons and stuff other. Cool. So yeah, these are the two websites which are available for Flutter. Now that's the that was the basic introduction of the widgets in the Flutter. Now, be it any programming language or be it any new technology, right? It's really important to talk about how efficient it is while working, correct? Because ultimately, being a developer, you don't want to be frustrated with the document supports which are available for that particular programming language, or how easily it is I'm getting the support of any error if I'm getting, or how easy it is to debug that particular programming language, correct? How easy it is to make a build out of it, correct? So that is the most important worry which is there for the developers. But in case of Flutter, there are lots of tools which are available with the Flutter SDK, which really makes your development cycle really streamlined. There are lots of tools available. One which I definitely told was hot reload feature. You just need to save your code, and there in your mobile application it would be reflected. So that is one of the efficient tooling. A few basic commands of the Flutter. Obviously, if you want to install Flutter, you can directly go to flutter.io, and then you can download their SDK and install it. After that, there are a few commands which are really important, which I'll just take you through. There's Flutter Doctor command available, which basically excuse me, yeah, which checks your environment and displays a report at the terminal window. So it would just check your system for all the functionalities that they are available or not, because Flutter does a lot of work for you, right? It gives you iOS application, it gives you a web version of your application, it gives you a Android version of application as well. So it just checks that all the important things are available or not, and if not, it gives you a suggestion that okay, you can install it from here and you can install it for here. For iOS, there are a few other requirements, but for Android, you just need the Android SDK in your system, and rest you can work on VS Code as well. You don't need to go switch your IDE and work on Android Studio. Even if you're a web developer and you are comfortable with VS Code, you can just go ahead with VS Code and install Flutter extensions on VS Code and start working on Flutter right from VS Code itself. And even if you want to create a build of your project, you can directly create it from VS Code itself. So you don't need to switch your IDE. When it comes to iOS, definitely there's the one basic requirement for you can definitely code for code in Dart, but if you want to create iOS build, correct, if you want to create a iOS build and test it, so for that definitely you will be needing a MacBook, a Mac OS, because you will be needing Xcode to sign the file and all that stuff. So that is one limitation which is there, but it's the limitation is there from the iOS side, because they just don't allow it. So for creating iOS application, you don't need to worry about anything, but just the publishing part of it, or just the creating the final build for that particular thing, you will be needing a Mac OS. Otherwise, for the complete development cycle, there's no need of Mac OS or anything. You can directly work on your VS Code on any operating system. And then there's a Flutter upgrade command, which just upgrades your SDK and all the packages which are available for the so this I'm taking you through the some important aspects of the folder which are there in the Flutter. Great. Okay, so another thing which is there in Flutter is the pubspec.yaml file. You might have heard about a lot of, so in case of Flutter, we have a pubspec.yaml file. It contains all the metadata about the package in the project. When we talk about metadata, it's basically name of the project and description and the dependencies of the project, correct? So that is all the things which are available. In case of Flutter, you can define a lot of assets which would be there in the folder, and all those stuff you can mention in the popspec.yml file. It's as similar to as if you are using AngularJS, there's angular.json. If you are using Android development, there's a Gradle file which is there in your Android application. So similarly, it's the configuration file of Flutter as well. Now, there are different ways of mentioning the dependencies. In the last slide, you can see that for Firebase auth is explained as mentioned as 0.2.5 version. And if you want to limit the package in between two versions, you can also write it in this particular manner as well. So that it would just stay in that particular range. Great. Then obviously, once you are done writing your package file, you can run the packages get command, so that it would just download all the packages, and you'll get the latest version of it. And if you want to upgrade the packages at any particular time, you can just directly use this command and you can upgrade it. So there are a few other commands as well, which is like Flutter format, so that if you want to beautify your code automatically, you can just run this command and it would just make sure that it really beautifies the lines of the code which are available. Then there's another really important feature which is provided by Flutter is Flutter Analyze. So what Flutter Analyze does is it really gives you a lot of important aspects, lot of information about the build which you are creating, be it Android or be it iOS. One of the really important or standout feature which I would like to mention is it gives you the weightage of all the packages which you are using. So if you are using, let's say, 10 or 15 packages, it would really give you that, okay, out of 100% which your app is taking, 1% or 5% of the sizes of this particular package, rest of the size 2% of this package. So it really gives you an bird eye view of your complete application, and you get a chance to decide that, is this really package really important? Do I need to invest let's say 100 KB or 500 KB in this particular package? Can I write something else so that I can reduce the app size and stuff? So it gives you that particular feature, and it really helps when you are deciding to bring down the size of your application. It really helps you to find out all the possible mistakes and extra code which you have written. So that's how it is. Okay, the hot reload feature I have already covered, which is it just gives you a really important. It really saves your time basically, because you don't have to run the application every time. You just do the change and it directly reflects on your system. Here you can see an example of the hot reload feature. On the right side, there's a demo application which is running, and on the left side, on the line number 44, what I did was that I just changed the counter plus plus to counter minus minus, so that we have to check that, okay, our hot reload feature is working or not. And then I will click on the plus icon, and you will see that it directly reflected. There was no need to do any hard reload or anything. It just directly reflected. So that is one feature of hot reload. And not just the values, even if you change important stuffs in your functions or anything, it just directly reflects. So that's about the hot reload feature. Now, one thing which we left behind was widgets, correct? We had discussed about few basic widgets, which were container and text and column and stuff. So Flutter is all about widgets. When you are creating a UI in Flutter, it's all about widgets. There's a a widget available for every UI element which you want to create, be it a image, be it a video, audio, text, paragraph. Any UI which you will be seeing would be having a specific widget allocated to it. Correct? I gave you a URL of widget catalog. You can also visit that particular URL to just have a look. So talking about technical aspects of it, widgets are divided into two types when it comes to Flutter. Correct? If we let's take an example in terms of HTML and CSS. There are so many elements, there are so many tags in HTML, correct? But when you have to do any DOM manipulation, how we generally do it, we do it with the help of JavaScript. Correct? For example, on any button click, I want to show or hide any element. On any text input, I want to change the color of any box, or all this types of DOM manipulations we generally do in HTML and CSS. But all the elements are defined in just one manner in HTML and CSS. But here, in case of Flutter, they are divided into two different categories. Correct? So one is stateless and other is stateful. As you can see, few examples of stateless widgets which are mentioned over here. Image is a stateless widget, text is a stateless widget, and in case of stateful widget, there is scrollable, there's any mutable. So with the help of examples, you might have got some understanding that how we are differentiating stateless and stateful. I'll mention it again. So stateless widgets are used for immutable elements. Correct? So what are immutable elements? Basically, they just rely on the object configuration. So immutable elements are basically those elements. For example, some data appeared from API and then it was feeded into that particular widget, and that's it. Now that won't be changed for the complete app life cycle. For example, if there's a card with the if there's a for example, if there's an app which has a movie listing, so there would be a card with a movie's image, and then at the below there would be name of that particular movie. Correct? So data would be fetched from API, and at the place of image will feed the image. At the place of the text will put the text. Now until we just close the app or do anything, those two informations will never change. Correct? We'll if we'll get 10 items, we'll repeat it for 10 cards. If we'll get 20 items, we'll repeat it for 20 cards. But there won't be any interaction. If user clicks on the image, it would go to some other page on the routing, but there won't be any difference happening to that image or that text. So these can be considered as a stateless widget because they are immutable elements and they just rely on the object configuration. Whatever data they received from API, they have the value of it, and that's all. They are not going to change. Correct? But talking about stateful widgets is used for elements that can dynamically change based on the state. Correct? Let's take an example of mm, music application. There's a option to listen a lot of music over there. You have a list, you searched something, and then there's an option to add to playlist. There's an option to mark as favorite. There are lots of these options. So options like this, functionalities like this, when on the base of user interaction, there is some change happening to that particular widget. You can take example of scrollable or animatable as well. Based on user interaction, they are changing, they are getting scrolled. In case of playlist, based on button click, the playlist is being added to the favorite section, or it's being added to the current playlist section. So all these elements which can be dynamically changed based on the user interaction or based on the state of application, all these widgets are considered as stateful widget. So these are the basic two differentiations which were done for the types of widget. So you need to take care of this. So we covered the stateful and stateless. So these are the few basic examples which like I have created with the help of Flutter, and all these are available in the form of widgets. So even if you'll see very complicated designs, when you'll see the widget catalog of Flutter, all things are almost available to use, like a carousel, like a swipeable feature when the image is getting changed and stuff, the counter and stuff, everything is available in the form of widgets when it comes to Flutter. Great. So these were the examples. One last thing about the Flutter which I would like to mention is like, being it a cross-platform or a hybrid mobile development platform, there would be times when you will be requiring to communicate to the actual native OS, correct? Because at the end of the day, there might be some functionality which is really not available in Flutter, and you need to write it into the Android, or you need to communicate to the that particular Android or that particular OS. You can talk about picture-in-picture mode. PIP mode is available in Android, but until the latest iOS update, it was not available in iOS. So there can be few functionalities which are platform dependent. For those functionalities, you will be needing platform channels. Platform channels are basically those things which are the bridge between the Flutter and that particular OS, which communicate for any specific functionality. So it's just very simple. If you have worked on Android, it would be much easier for you to understand. If you have worked on web, not a difficult concept to understand. So you have a Flutter app at one side, and there can be different hosts. I have taken iOS as a host, and I have taken Android as a host. They can be web platform also as a host. So you create a method channel for every specific platform, and that method channel acts as a bridge. So all the changes, all the uh, functionalities which you have to sort of do, which are platform specific, you can do with the help of method channel. What method channel does is it takes your information to that particular OS and brings out specific information from the OS. For example, if you want to know the battery level, if you want to use some gallery features of the OS, which are really platform specific, for those kind of stuff, you need to use platform channels. And then you can, and the codes are easily available for all this functionality. For example, if I need a method channel for getting battery level, there are codes available for iOS, there is code available for Android. It's readily available for all the functionalities. For camera feature, for gallery feature, it's readily available. So you just need to copy paste when it comes to method channel, because not a lot of us might be knowing about iOS and Android. Not a lot of us might be knowing how to write in Swift and stuff. So there are code which are readily available, you can directly use it. So that was about the method channel. Great. So we are coming towards the end of the session. So these are few introductory blogs or resources which I would suggest you guys to just go through it, so that you get more basic information about Flutter. It's available. I'll share the PPT so you guys can just go through it, or if you want, you can take the screenshot of this particular session or this particular screen again. Great. One last thing, as we don't have much time left, so if you want to actually go towards the and try the very first project in Flutter, just go to this URL or just scan this particular barcode. You will go to the it will redirect you towards the code lab, where there's a basic uh, mechanism explained of how to create your very first Flutter app, and do some basic changes and get a gist of how actually Flutter is working. So yeah, that's all from my side. I tried to cover almost each and every important aspect of Flutter, so that you guys really get excited about that. Okay, Flutter is the thing which we would like to use. That's the almost end of our session. If there are any questions, I would definitely answer them in the YouTube comment section itself, because we don't have much time. You can also contact me on this various social media handles. Also, if you have any questions, either directly ping me, or I'll just go through the comment section and try to answer those questions as well. Yeah, so that's all from my side. Thanks a lot for listening, everyone.
Thank you so much, sir. That's a great, awesome, and insightful session.
Yeah, completely agree. That was really great. Thank you so much, sir, for enlightening us, and thank you for the amazing session. Also, we have very much time right now to take up the questions. So, sir, you have any like prayer questions with to ask Manal sir? You can reach out to him on like Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And so, yeah, so we will be continuing to our session now. Thank you so much, sir, for being here with us.
Thanks a lot.
So, continuing to the session, what we have in the bucket list next, Piyush?
Well, it's time for the web development and designing. For this, please welcome Vijraj Singh sir. Vijraj Singh sir is a front-end web developer by profession and a community champion by passion. He is an organizer at GDE, GDG Jalandhar, and a GDE expert for Firebase and web technologies.
He has given 100 plus talks and workshops for communities, and and he has over 5 years of experience in all the community things. His areas of expertise are around web, Firebase, Google Cloud Platform, and UI UX design. He's always eager to learn new technologies and develop solutions based on them. So, welcome, Rajat sir, and over to you for the amazing session.
Hi everyone, this is Rijraj, and first of all, thank you so much entire DSC WOW team for having me. And in this talk, I'm going to talk about how we can build web solution with the help of Google developers product like AMP, PWA, Firebase, and many more. So let me talk about myself. I'm Rijraj, and I'm Google developer expert for web technology and Firebase. Also, I'm leading GDG Jalandhar community in Punjab region. I work on various developer technologies like PWA, Firebase, AMP, Google Chrome Platform, or GCP. And also I have a YouTube channel, Tech Ferment. So overall, in this talk, first I'm going to talk about the web fundamental. Basically, these all are the base for the web technology. And then we'll go for the Google developers product that you can use for making your web solution. So first, according to like Google in 2020, there are almost 460 million monthly active users are using internet, and there are approx 390 million monthly active users are using smartphone in India. So there is a huge opportunity in terms of for the web developers as well as for the mobile developers to make that platform alive. Adding to some more research on local site versus global site. Local site means the website developed by Indian developers or developed in India. There are almost 30% users are using local sites. And for example, local site like Flipkart or Jabang, these all are the local sites. And there are almost 70% users are using global site, which means the website like Facebook or Twitter, these all are the website developed by outside India. So, and we are all of the developer. We can increase the local site ratio by building the platform and the services so that it can be accessible to each users and every person in the India. For building these type of platform, or I can say the web, you have to work smartly to increase the performance and accessibility solutions. So for the first, we have a web fundamental like website. So website could be considered as a collections of web pages. So web pages consist of like picture, media file, audio file, text file, or it can be have a HTML code. Each website have their specific URL, which we call as domain. For example, google.com or linkedin.com. And you can build a website with the help of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And the second part is browser. You can use browser to locate or access the web pages. And each browser have their specific rendering engine. For example, in Google Chrome, there is a rendering engine, Blink, have their specific rendering engine for JavaScript like Chrome V8 engine, which is written in C++. It is an open source. And second, we have a Mozilla. They are using SpiderMonkey for JavaScript rendering engine. So next term is server. We use server to serve the data. Let's suppose I have built a website with the help of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Now my website should be accessible. So we can use server where we can upload or add some file so that it can be accessible to n number of devices over the network. So in the server, we are mostly working on web server, email server, and the file server. We use web server for serving a web pages over the network. For example, whenever you are opening a website like google.com, you are accessing a web pages through the server. So we are requesting a web pages. So that's why we are calling web server. So web server uses HTTP protocol, hypertext transfer protocol. And second, we are using email server. So whenever you are sending or receiving a mail over the internet, you are using email server. So there are two protocols mostly you have to work on, like IAMP, Internet Messaging, SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, and second one is POP, Post Office Protocol. And the third, whenever you are uploading or downloading a web pages or a data over the internet, you are using file server. So there is a protocol we are using, FTP, File Transfer Protocol. And if I talk about web server in the market, we have Nginx. Like if you are working on Node.js, so mostly you have to work on Nginx. And second, we have a web server like Apache. If you are working on PHP, you have to work on mostly Apache. And the third is Microsoft IIS. And the database, like as a web developer, we have to work on database as well as like database we use to store our data so that it can be easily accessible, manageable, and updatable. And in the market, we have two type of database, like structural database and unstructured database. So structured database is a kind of called as relational database, have their specific schema. For example, we can store a data in terms of table, row, column value, and all. So mostly as a structured database, you have to work on MySQL. And if I talk about unstructured database, you have to work on MongoDB, which is schemaless. So this is a main core fundamental for the web technology, like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and the core concept like website, browser, and the server part. Now I'm going to talk about some Google developers product that you can use for making your web solution more accessible and performant. I know the order is different than you have seen in your day-to-day life. These are the few technology in web which you can use for making your website more high performance and scalable and accessible. So first, uh, we know the terminology like web and web apps. So web apps is an application that can be accessible through the web browser over the network. So how web app is different to the website. So website is generally just be a informational kind of things. For example, Wikipedia. Wikipedia is a kind of website we can get the informations. And web apps is just like as a website plus additional functionality. For example, login, personalized content, or it may be dynamic content and all. You can trigger a push notification and all. And then we have a third terminology, PWA. So we have a web solution or a website. We can add more extra features. We can enhance our web capabilities with the help of PWA. PWA is a kind of web application which can be installed. It works offline when you have internet, where don't have internet connections. And in simply way, PWA progressively enhance your web experience. And from Chrome 70 onwards, you can a user can now install PWA on desktop. So this is a simple example for Twitter PWA. And even you can upload your PWA into Google Play Store by making its TWA. So this is the opportunity where we as a web developer can enhance our user experience by providing a solution that can be installed or upload on the Google Play Store. So this is for the mobile developer who are working on the kind of the native applications. So, but yes, there is a feature we called as TWA, Trusted Web Activities. I have a PWA, I can convert that PWA into a TWA, and that TWA can be upload on Google Play Store, and which can be as a work as a native application. So, for example, OYO Lite team is a OYO Lite is a TWA, which is simply a PWA. So, to know more about uh, TWA, you can visit the link mentioned in the slide. And again, it looked like as a for the mobile developers, like this is either cheat hai, something, because we are a web developer, we just build a web solution, and that web solution can be converted into the mobile applications. Yeah. So overall, PWA you can enhance your user experience. You can provide offline support, push notifications, and many more. Even you can even you can install PWA on desktop, or you can upload your PWA into Google Play Store by making it TWA. So overall, PWA in simple way, पहले इस्तेमाल करें फिर विश्वास करें. And after PWA, I think you will feel like let's design a website, like for example, blah 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 dot com, something, anything. So it's it loading, and again it's loading. And when your website is slow and user get frustrated, look at this guy. Your website is loading and still loading. So you've probably seen plenty of time user when the loading time of your website is too much. So you have to work on a lot of things. In general case, mostly 53% user will leave the website if it takes more than 3 seconds. And the problem is improving a website speed takes a lot of time and effort in terms of team, time, management, many more. You have to remove the unused CSS part, unused JavaScript part. You have to optimize the entire architecture and all. So, and the developer, this can't be a condition for the developer because we have to work on HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We have to reduce a lot things and many more. So that's why AMP came into the picture. So AMP is an open source project created by the Google team. It is an open source project for creating a super fast of web pages. Like I have a web page in, let's suppose index.html, which takes a size around 100 KB. If I converted my web pages into the AMP, which maybe size is around 10 KB. So it's a web component framework. Google is using AMP by quickly serving the content on mobile devices. You might have seen this before in your day-to-day life. These all are on Google search are working on AMP. With AMP, you can build AMP website, AMP stories, AMP email, and AMP ads. So AMP website is too much fast web pages as compared to the standard websites. Mintra is using AMP for enhancing their user experience and making or serving a fast content over the network. And the second, you can create a AMP stories, which is kind of Instagram or maybe Snapchat type of a story, which is a platform dependent. You can create a story which can be shared via the URL, and you can just open the story over the browser, and that's it. And third is email. You can create an AMP email. AMP email is a technology that allows the user or marketer to add interactive content or interactive elements such as radio button, text, uh, confirmation button, checklist, and these kind of things you can do that. And the fourth last, so you can create a amp ads that basically these all are ads very fast. You can create you can make advertise in very simple easy way. You can add some interactive animations, high performance, all across multiple devices with distributor pattern. So amp built on three core component. Uh, so like first is amp HTML, amps JS, and amp caches. So AMP HTML is a modified version of HTML tags, meta tags. For example, in HTML, we have an image tag or paragraph tag or maybe video tag, YouTube tag. These all are the predefined tag you can use in your HTML. But if we are working on AMP HTML, so these all are, we have modified HTML tags. Like in HTML, we have a image tag. So if you are working on AMP, we have AMP image tag. And the second, AMP.js library. AMP.js. So it's a JavaScript library which implement all the best practices and the performance and manage the resources loading over the page. Basically, it's a JavaScript library which uh, before you have to using the AMP meta tags. And the third, AMP caches, which cache the AMP pages, making them fast. How to create a AMP pages? This is a one of the best question, toughest question for the web developer. So for creating a AMP pages, you have to add two things. First, you have to add AMP as an attribute in HTML tag, and then second, you have to import AMP.js library in your web pages, and that's it. And this is very easy. You can create a AMP pages, which is very super fast over the network. And this is a simple example. In HTML, just I have added AMP as an attribute, and in the heading tag, I have added a JS library for the AMP. So to know more about AMP, you can visit the link amp.dev. Yeah. So sometime in your college life, or maybe in the hackathon, you've got a lot of ideas. You wanted to implement a solution, or you wanted to make a solution, something kind of things. And then some you are a little bit confused how to start, which technology you can go for, like as a backend or as a front end, and the database and all. And then somehow you decided the technology and the start and stack, and then you start working on it, and then you have to write a lot of code and code and code and code. And there might be an issue related to security, code implementation, managing a database, or it could be related to uh, high performant application and scalability and all. And then there is a unified solution you can use to improve your user experience. You can enhance your entire developer experience with the help of Firebase. So that's why Firebase came into the picture, where developer need to work on the quality of uh, the front end part mostly. So what is a Firebase? So Firebase is a developer platform that provide the developers with a lot of tools and services to help them to build high quality and high scalable application. User they can you can earn more benefit in terms of user. You can scale your applications or entire user base. You don't need to manage the infrastructure. Firebase will take care all of the things. So as a front end developer or a back end developer, so if I talk about a simple app developer, so if you are working on Firebase, so you just need to focus on the front end side. It may be front end of the web applications, or maybe front end of mobile applications. So Firebase is providing a lot of services. You just need to integrate that services and all. So Firebase mission is to help the developers succeed, because Firebase is providing a lot of services. You just need to integrate and use that services. And one of the best thing about Firebase, you can use Firebase with the multiple platform. Like if you're working on mobile platform like iOS, Android, or Flutter is a kind of another cross-platform technology. So you can use it Firebase. And the third one is web. As you know, like as a web developer can also work on web Firebase. And the second last is C++. Even if you are working on C++, you can use it. And the last, if you're working on game developer platform like Unity, you can easily use it. So as I told you, Firebase is providing a lot of services or tools. You can use it. So Firebase divided into the three main categories of tools which have their specific goals. So first one is build better applications. So it helps you to build better application by making complex coding process easier. They are providing the services that you can use to enhance your web, enhance, or maybe you can increase the development speed. Like you can use authentication service. So Firebase authentication providing an n number of third-party authenticator provider like Twitter, Google, Microsoft, or GitHub. Anything you can use it. And like cloud functions, you can you can write your own business logic with the help of cloud functions, or you can use Firebase as a database. So in Firebase we have a two type of database: cloud file store, real-time database. Or whenever you have a user generated data such as text file, audio file, video file, you can store your data with the help of cloud storage. Or you have a web solution, you wanted to deploy a website, so you can use Firebase hosting. Or if you are working on machine learning, you can use it Firebase machine learning service, where there are you can create a predefined you can create your machine learning model, or they are providing a predefined machine learning model. You can use it. And second service is improve your app quality. You can improve your app quality by catching the issues early and fixing them quickly. So you can use Crash Analytics, performance monitoring, test labs, and app distribution. And the third, you can go for grow and engage user. It is a category where you can grow and engage your user by understanding how people are using your application. And you can engage them in meaningful way. For example, I have an Android application or could be a web solution. So I can engage my Android user or web solution user by triggering a push notification with the help of cloud messaging. So as you know, there are almost 25 plus different products within a Firebase. You can use it depend on the your requirement. So with the help of Firebase, you can easily build high scalable, high uh, performant applications. You just need to work on the front end side, and Firebase is providing a lot of services. Just you need to integrate it and all. And to know more about Firebase, you can visit the link mentioned in the slide, firebase.google.com. Now, at the end of now in this session I'm talk about Google Developers APIs. You can use it, which is built in Chrome Developers Platform. So first one is shape detection API. Like if you are working on a web platform and you have worked on fetch APIs, so fetch is a predefined method. You can use it for calling APIs and all. So similarly, we have APIs like shape detection APIs. So shape detection APIs, you can detect a shape. For example, you can detect faces, barcode, or text from the images. So we have APIs like barcode API, face detection APIs, or text detections. So to know more about these all APIs, there is a link web.dev/shape-hyphen detections. So this is an example for shape detections APIs. Like there is a method face detector, and just you need to add it, and you have to pass image. And similarly for the barcode. And the second is uh, yeah. So and the second is like we are working on anchor tag, but with the help of anchor tag, you cannot provide a seamless navigation. Seamless navigation is just like as a you can change the we can add some transition while changing the pages. So you can use web portal APIs, which is very new. You can use it if you are working if you are working as a pro developer and all. And the next APIs is you can use OTP APIs. So whenever you are getting a OTP messages in your mobile devices, you can directly fetch them in the mobile browser automatically. You just not need to copy, go to the SMS or messaging application, just copy the OTP and then paste it in on web browser. It will automatically fetch with the help of OTP APIs. And then next APIs is web share APIs. So with the help of web share APIs, you can share your current web pages on various native applications with the help of web share APIs. So this is a simple example for web share APIs. I have created a button, maybe share button. When I click on this button, so I have defined a JavaScript object where we have a title, text, and the URL. And there is a method navigator.share, and that's it. We can share the content and number of third party or maybe native applications, just like I said, Twitter, Instagram, any all. And suppose you have a PWA, you have created a PWA, and there are notifications coming on. You can apply some batches. You can do that. You can add some batches with the help of batch APIs. So we have a methods like batch.set, and that's it. Windows.batch set, and there are one more APIs you can use, contact picker APIs. You can collect the contact informations from mobile devices with the help of browser. You just need to use that APIs, contact APIs. So there is a method. This is an example for contact picker APIs. So I have created a JavaScript object where we have a property like multiple is equal to false. So at the time, one contact will be shared, and the property I'm getting like name, email ID, and the telephone number, and that's it. If you want to collect the array of object, you can use it. And this is a trending topic. Like if you are working on machine learning, so you have to work on mostly work on Java, Python, and scikit-learn, and there are a lot of things, libraries like TensorFlow and all. But for the web developer, you can use it Java's machine learning with the help of TensorFlow.js. So TensorFlow.js is a library for the machine learning. You can use it. You can run your machine learning model. You can train your machine learning model on browser side. And there is a lot of models. There are already pre-trained or predefined model. You can use it, or you can create your own model and you can train them on browser side. So to know more about TensorFlow.js, you can visit the link tensorflow.org hyphen slash JS. And then like I'm a front-end engineer. Suppose if you are working on mobile solutions or a web solutions, so you have to mostly work on UI UX part. You have to design the UI, and you have to create a UX or applications, or you have to create a entire UX design with, so that it as a layman person can understand. So you can go for the material designing guideline. They are providing a lot of tutorials or blogs how you can create a better UX and UI implementation in our applications. And then you can go for the Google Fonts. Like if you're working on web platform or a mobile platform, you just need to add a lot of fonts library. So Google Font is providing a lot of fonts. You can use it easily. So, and that's all. This is all about the web entire package. You can use it for making high scalable, accessible solution. And at last, this is not end. Yes, picture abhi baki hai. As you know, the web has endless possibilities. There are a lot of new things in web technologies like Project Fugu, Deno, etc. It's totally up to you how you use this platform and services or a technology to design a successful solution or a product to make it more accessible and performant. So I have a YouTube channel. You can go. I have providing a tutorial on Firebase and various new web technologies and all. So thank you so much.
That was really great, sir. We have few questions from our live audience for you. Would you like to take some of them?
Yeah.
So the first question is, can you please help share some resources to learn PWA?
Yeah, for the PWA, there is a web developer resources. You can just visit the link web.dev. Yeah, here you will get the resources for the PWA from scratch.
Okay, it hopes it works. Uh, we have next question lined up. What are the benefits of using Firebase web hosting?
So first benefit is it's completely free, and you will get free SSL, as well as your web file is served on SSDs. So these all are the very fast storage devices and all. So these all are the benefits. And you can, within a Firebase project, you can host multiple websites with the help of Firebase hosting.
Okay, next we have how do we come to know this new technologies?
uh, yeah, so just explore. You can search on Google like what's new is the blog. You can explore the blogs and all. So there is no particular resources or links you can go for. Just explore and all. That's it.
I hope it answers to Aman Jan and other audience too. Upcoming next we have a question. Uh, can we learn machine learning on TensorFlow?
Yes, you can learn machine learning. Like if you want to start your career in a machine learning, so first go for the Python and then scikit-learn. There is a lot of journey you can go further. But as if you want to be a good machine learner, then go for the Python, not for the JavaScript. As of now,
We have next question. What are the Firestore
yeah,
security rules and how to use it?
yeah. Like in database, you can add security rules for like role-based authentications, role-based database access management, and all. So you can do that with the help of Firebase or Firestore real-time or storage security rules. And there is a tutorial you can use it. You can apply rule on particular collections, documents, how many users, what type of users you uh, can access your data, how many user can read or write, or what type of users using your data. You can do that with the help of security rules.
So our next question is, so sir, we can integrate APIs in Android apps too with the help of Flutter or Firebase.
We can integrate which APIs.
I think they are talking about the normal, I think, APIs that it's for language, I think. The translation
I don't know
APIs or font
exactly.
API. Okay, we can continue the
Yeah,
next question.
like there's yeah.
Like, I think the answer is yes, of course. Like, we can integrate the APIs. It's so, like, it's the easy task to do. It's not that difficult. Okay, so I think this is the wrong question. Can you make personal projects or practice, but have to? I think this is the wrong question we are displaying on the screen
I
right
don't
now.
know. Yep.
Okay, okay. Firebase is a okay. So to host a website in Firebase, is it necessary to develop website in Firebase-based technologies, or we can host them on any website in Firebase?
No, it's okay. It's totally up to you. Firebase is hosting. You can serve your static web pages, or you can create a dynamic web pages. If you have a website like if you are implementing SSR like server side rendering, then you can go for the cloud functions. Or basically with the help of Firebase hosting, you can serve the static web pages, basically HTML, CSS, and JavaScript part. And there is no limitations with what type of languages you want to use.
That's
Okay,
great.
that hope we hope that it really answers to our audience. There is one more question. Do we have monitoring and alert system in Firebase?
Yeah, you will get the notifications like if you haven't applied the database rules, you will get a mail like your data might be insecure. These kind of things you can do that.
Yeah. I, okay, there is. This question is already done, I guess. Okay, so
Yeah.
continuing with the session, that was really amazing, sir, and we are really grateful to you for the whole session. It was really
Yeah,
enlightening, and thank you so much for this amazing session.
Glad to
yeah.
have you, sir,
Thank
today.
you.
Thank you. So let's continue with the session and
Before that,
get.
sorry to interrupt you, Himadri, but before that, I want to ask you, what about the hackathon? Like, if I'm not having a team, so how should
Okay.
I go through it?
Oh, that's a really nice question. So we have this Discord. We have this Discord server. I think most of you know about this already. But for that, we have already there is a channel in the Discord server as well, where you can find people you can participate with. So do check out our Discord server, and if you have any doubts, just ask there. I will suggest one thing to all of you, that do not use Hindi language over there, because it might there's like some auto scripts that are running over there, and it might block you or ban you from the server. So try to use as the English language as much as you can there. So yeah, just move on to the Discord server and get to know other people and participate with them.
Yeah, and one of my friend is from foreign, like Australia, and he was asking
Mhm.
that wants to participate and contribute to DSC WOW hackathon. So how will he be eligible for that or not?
Yes, he is eligible for that. Do participate, and but there's a one problem that we won't be able to deliver the prizes over there. So we had we have few limitations that I think we have to bear with. But if you are coming for the experience of learning and exploring things out, then do participate.
So that's nice, and that's a sad part too, that you cannot deliver to the swags outside the country. After all, it's pandemic going on. And there is
Yeah.
one more question, like people are eagerly asking me that whether we can start our project before the hackathon. Like, I guess not. We don't do such things.
It's your idea, like it's your idea. Implement things is never a bad thing for you, and I think implementation is good. For I can what I can suggest you from my experience is, from where I have started like participating in hackathons, we always used to have the prior idea of everything. But uh, but try not to do that, because the whole fun is around pitching the whole idea during the session and during the whole time. So try not to do that, but it's your choice, I guess. But it's not a recommendation from my side this time.
Let me see. Just oh, it's mentioned on the website, I guess, too, that you cannot implement the project, I guess. So discarding that question, I'll let the boy know about this, that you cannot start your that project initially before the hackathon begins. And
Yeah.
so apart from this, like would you like to share your experience, like how you started your DSC journey and till now?
Okay. So it's a really long experience for me, and it's like a really great experience for me, and I'm really happy to share that experience with all of you. I have been like a very introverted person in the beginning of my college, but I never used to like uh, stop myself when it comes to interaction with my seniors and with people who used to interact, who used to have the tech experience. So I just start connecting with them. This whole connections and buildings led to me a great, gave me a lot and lot of things during the whole journey. I had this SIH team as well with my seniors, and they were all the part of DSC. We had our previous DSC lead in my SIH team only. So he knows me personally, and he also had a idea of how his DSC working. And so yeah, so there was one time then we had a whole conversation, and just the name popped up, and then I filled up the form, and then like whole things got led to me here. There were nominations. There were a lot of people who applied from my college, and I was like completely blacked out on the on the moment when I got the mail. It said, "Congratulations, you are now DSC lead of your campus." It's like, oh my god! Like, how is it even possible for me? I can't believe on myself. So it's
That's
like
really
something.
amazing. That's really amazing. Like,
Exactly. So yeah,
and
that is my pretty much the experience around the whole DSC. And after the journey begins, it's like you like it will take me to it will take me 2 days or like or more than that to explain whole of my journey after that. So I'm not going to do that right now.
That I can feel that vibe from your face. Even like I cannot express even that the journey can how much amazing it is to be a lead and leading a community. So yeah.
Exactly.
uh, So there is one more question in the chat box. I guess people are asking yesterday's quiz winners. We do have a time for
Uh-huh.
that. I guess we do have a time for that. We'll be announcing it.
Okay,
Uh,
so I think we can go ahead by announcing our winners for the day.
okay.
So let's smash the suspense and announce our winner for yesterday's quiz.
Go
Um,
ahead.
the results are on the screen right now. Congratulations, everyone who won the giveaways, and kudos to everyone who participated.
Well, I didn't win today also. Yesterday I've lost. Today I lost. What should do I know?
Might be it is because you already knew the questions, right?
Yeah, you can say
So
that, but still I feel answered the questions. That matters
um,
maybe.
I don't think cheating is allowed in this.
I guess. Yep.
And also, you're
So
the organizer.
yeah,
Some
I am.
disadvantages might be, but a lot of more advantages over some disadvantages as well.
Okay. So I am the organizer, but let's hope for the other people to let's answer the questions. And if they are unlucky today, unlucky yesterday, and day before yesterday, might be there is a chance to win now.
Yeah, and
So
today's session for sure.
moving on to our next today's quiz.
Yeah, we can move on to our quiz now, and just have to do like the whole process is same like the last time. You have to jump on the link that we will providing on the screen only, and also our moderators will provide the links in the comment section as well. So go ahead, guys, and attend the quiz.
So hope everyone have answered the questions correctly, and they will be waiting for their results. So tomorrow we'll be announcing the results at the same time. Till now, let's continue with the session. Upcoming, we have a session on building chat app with Flutter and Firebase. For this session, we have with us Sanskar Tiwari sir. Uh, he has experienced app developer, both native and hybrid, over 2 years of experience in app development, working on his own personal projects and freelancing, and 5 months of plus experience in Flutter.
He was able
He
to
was,
experience
yeah,
Yep. He was able to experience launching and managing production mobile apps. He has also experience in authoring, testing, and deploying code mission critical applications. He's also proficient in programming skills, including object-oriented programming, data structure, etc., and much more, guys. So it's a never-ending list. I think we should continue to with our speaker. So
yep.
welcome,
Please
sir.
welcome Sanskar Tiwari sir.
Hello. So first of all, I would like to say thanks for having me. It's great to have be presenting here. So today, as mentioned, we will be building a chat application. It's going to be a group chat application where we will be able to interact. So first of all, I have already deployed it on web as well. So as it was mentioned in the earlier talk that you are now able to launch your Flutter application on web as well. So I have already launched it on deployed it on a web link. So if you want anyone, you can interact. So the link will be shared and you can visit that and you will be able to send a message here as well. So let me show you from my side, interacting from Android application as well as from web. So we will be able to send any messages from here. And as you can see, it's instantly visible here as a real-time with Firebase real-time database Firestore. And it was visible here as well. So I can send a message like, hey, I am from web. And you can see it is there. The time differences is basically because of that. So that is something which you can fix. But if I will say, hey, there, I am from mobile. You can see we have that as well. So that's overall one thing which we also will include is going to be the Google sign-in. So that is also something which we will include. So let me show you that. So we will have this sign in with Google option. This is how we are getting all the details of like profile picture, username, and all that stuff. I'm not showing a lot because the time constraints are there. So we will learn enough so that you will be able to not only add data to Firebase, fetch data from Firebase. So basically, overall, two most important things whenever you are using any kind of database. And UI creation will be there, not too much, but good enough for building some good minimum viable products. Okay, so let's start from scratch. Let's create a new project. If you have not installed Flutter and nothing is there, you can actually watch it all. We have the source code available on GitHub. So at the end, for now, you can just learn, and at the end, we will be sharing the link so that you can just go through it and go through at your own pace. So let's just create a new window. This is how we create a new Flutter project. If you're using Android Studio, there is a different steps, but for VS Code, this is how you do it. So we will just click on settings, command panel, and then over here, you will just say Flutter new project. Then we can give the name for that project. So I'm going to call it group chat app. And let's just add DSC WOW. Okay, so now you can just select the folder where you want to create that. So I'm just going to select this one. Let's just get rid of that. Okay, so now it will create all these different files. One thing which you can see is we have the web folder available. If you will install Flutter for the first time, you may not get this. If you are on beta, then you will. There are like desktop, Mac OS folders will be available as well, depending on how you have set up. We will not be working on web. If we get enough time, I'll show you how to add this so that it can run on web at least. But for major part, we will be focusing on Android side of it. So this is a sample project which we get when we create a new Flutter project, right? Hopefully that font size is good enough. If you are not comfortable, you can let me know. Okay, so first let me just increase this a little bit so that's much more visible. Okay, so this is the first project which we get. It's a counter application. Now it's just showing an error at string. So this is just something happening for my code editor for some reason maybe, but I'm just going to open the same project again. Nothing new, it's just, yeah. So as you can see, so this is a counter application. So I would like to show you by running this. So I'm going to just select this device, which is Pixel API 27, and it's going to launch that. It's nothing but a simple counter application. We will have a floating action button here. Whenever we will click on it, the count will increase. It was actually shown in the introductory video. So I hope if you have attended that, you will be clear about it. So first, let's get rid of all these comments. So I'm just going to say slash, and then by using regex, we can just get rid of all of these. So if I'll just save that, we have gone to it. Let's just wait for a minute or so. Not minute, maybe seconds, just so that this application run. But basically, I hope you will have an idea that it was a counter application where you can just click on the floating action button and it will increase that counter. So this is the whole code for that particular widget. So it was also explained in that how everything in Flutter is widget, whether it is the screen, whether it is the image, whether it is text, all these different elements you can say are just widgets. So this is the whole screen widget of that particular home page, which is this one. You can see this counter application. So since we will not use this, I'm just going to get rid of all of it. It was also explained why we use stateful and stateless widget. So I hope that will be clear. If it not, you can mention that in the comments and all. I will be explaining that again if required. So now this homepage does not exist. That's why it's showing us an error. So let's create the different screens, which will be basically the widgets, right? The whole screen widgets, which will be required for our application. So as we saw in that particular demo application, we have a sign-in screen where we will be able to sign in with Google. We will have a home screen where we can see a list of all the different groups available where we can chat. Then we have a chat screen, which you can also call it a chat room, where we have all the people who can send a message and see all the other messages. So to create that, we are going to go inside the lib folder, create a new folder inside of it, and I'm going to call it views. You can call it whatever you want according to your preference. This is what I usually use. So now inside of it, I'm going to create a home.dart file. This Dart file is going to include all the code for my home screen. So we are going to start by creating a material, importing material, and then creating a stateful widget. So this stateful widget will be named home. Okay, so there it is. So now, since we don't have my home page anymore, let's use home over here. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this because we don't have to pass any value. We are not accepting anything over here. So I'm just going to get rid of that. Now, whenever you are using something like this widget is defined in another file and you are using it in another file, then you have to import it, right? So just select that, click on this bulb icon and import that. If you will save that, you can see we have this whole blank, black screen. The reason for that is because we are returning a container. Whenever we create a new stateful widget, we just have a blank container with us, right? But this is not exactly what we want, right? We want a screen where it should have an app bar and things like that. So first, let's start by getting rid of this, debug banner. To do so, you just have to add a simple key here, debug checker mode banner, and just mention that to be false. Okay. So now, as I said, we don't want this black screen. First of all, it should be like a white screen with an app bar. So let's do that first. So for that, we are going to use a scaffold. What is a scaffold? Well, with a scaffold, you get a lot of pre-built widgets, which you can use out of the box. You don't have to create them from scratch, especially starting with talking about the app bar, for example. To create an app bar, you don't have to define its all these properties, like how much the elevation will be, how much the font weight of that particular title will be, or like how much size of that will be. So for example, to create an app bar, you just can mention app bar, and then you can say app bar widget, and this app bar widget will accept a title. Now this title will accept a text widget. Okay, so I can say title will be something like, group chat. If I will save that, you can see I didn't mention that I wanted this, background color to be blue. I didn't mention how much elevation I want. I don't have to mention all of these things. With this scaffold, we have this app bar available for us. We can just mention, that what do we want as title, and it will present that for us, right? So that is why we use scaffold. It will really not only that, but if I will run this on iOS device, for example, on a simulator, right? In that case, it will work according to how it is in iOS. So in iOS, you will not see the elevation, right? So for that, I don't have to, define that in this particular, like mentioning somewhere that if it is, iOS, then don't have elevation. It will be already taken care for us. So that is something why we use scaffold, not just app bar. There are a lot of widgets which are there available for us to use, talking about floating action button, whether it is drawer and things like that. So now we have the app bar. What is next? Let's first create all the different screens. So I'm going to create new file for the sign in screen. So sign in, similarly to home, we will just start by importing material and creating a stateful widget called sign in. Get rid of that space and just save. Rather than returning a container, I will just return a scaffold. So this particular part. Okay, so nothing special, just same scaffold with an app bar, right? Same. Now I'm going to create one more screen, which is going to be the conversation screen. You can name it whatever you want. It's just what I have in my mind right now. So I'm going to just say import material, and then I'm going to create a stateful widget again. This one will be named conversation screen. Okay, so now you can see one thing which is very important. I don't have to write all of this code for a stateful, right? How is this happening? So for this, I'm using extensions. So I will actually give you the link that will be much better for you. So you can download, all the extension which are required, and they will really help you with the snippets. You don't have to write all of this code again and again. You just have to say, what do you want? So for example, if I want stateful widget, I don't have to write all the code. I just say ST and it will show me an option that do I want the stateful widget or I want a stateless widget. So if I want the stateful widget, I will just select the first option and it will provide the code for me, right? So I don't have to write all of that. Okay, so we have a basic structure for all these different screens available. So the next step will be connecting our application with Firebase. Before we do so, we should have imported all the different packages which we will use. So let me tell you more about that. So I'm going to open up a new browser window. Just a second. Okay, so we are going to visit pub.dev. Now over here, you can see we have a lot of different packages available. Now, what is packages? Packages are of different kinds. Some are developed by Flutter team themselves, and a lot of community, collaboration has been there. So they are like people like even you and me. We can also create some packages by ourselves, and all the people, all the developers can use that as well. So basically, with package, what happens is a particular piece of code is written for us. We don't have to write everything from scratch, writing hundreds and lines of code. It's just written for us. They just will provide you a simple snippet which you can use and you can do whatever that particular package is for. So for example, to use Firebase, I don't have to especially write the code for Android, write the code for iOS. We have a package available which can take care for all the native site. We just have to write it single time. So that's basically how we can use. So whenever we are using Firebase services, whether it is the database, whether it is storage, we need to first use Firebase core. So this has been something which is a little bit of a recent update. Not too far ago, we don't have to, but now we have to. So now we just will start by installing these packages. To install, you just have to click on this installing section, copy the dependency, then visit this pubspec.yaml file. Okay, now this can seem to be like too much of code, but they have like provided you a really good documentation of how to do different stuff, like how to add images, how to add fonts. But you don't have to worry about all of them for now. Just to make it look a bit simpler, or not too much, I'm going to get rid of all the comments and just save that. So what you need to do is you will see this dependencies, right, where Flutter SDK is already installed. What we need is this particular one now, Firebase core. Other than that, we will be using Cloud Firestore, shared preferences to save the data to our local storage, and Google Sign-in and other packages. So let me quickly import them. directly rather than, searching them again and again. So just a second. Okay, so these are all the different packages we will use. We will use Cloud Firestore, which is the database by Firebase, in which we will save all the data, whether it is the message, whether it is the time of that message, things like that. Firebase Auth is used for the authentication purposes. Google Sign-in and Firebase Auth will be, used together. So Google Sign-in is going to, give that properties of we can use our Google account, but it will be handled through Firebase. So we will have this shared preferences. If you have used native Android site, then you will have experienced shared preferences. It's not exactly how it is in that, but it's totally same for the major part. Now this Firebase core, as I explained, for using any of the services, we will be using Firebase core first. Okay, so we have all of these packages installed now. So the next step is to connect our application with Firebase. So let me just close this. And now I'm going to open firebase.com. Okay. So over here, you don't need to, even sign up. You just need to have a Gmail account and it will be already there for you. You just need to click on go to console. I'm going to use my another account. So let me just select that and then click on go to console. By the way, Firebase is totally free to use. It's a service by Google, so there is no problem if you don't have anything. Even there is no sign up and things like that, because if you most probably you may have already a Gmail account. You just need to open firebase.com and just go to console. We will start by creating a new project. You may not have, for major cases, if you have not used Firebase before, you will have quite a clean dashboard than this. You will just have an option to add a project. So don't worry, it's just whenever you will add more and more, these will be available. So now I'm going to give it a name for this project. So let's just call it group chat app DSC. So we cannot use underscore here. So let me just make sure I don't do that. Okay. So once you will do that, just click on continue. Now, for this Google Analytics, for major cases, it's not something which we are going to use for this application. You can, it's free, but I'm not going to use, so I'm just setting it to false. Now we are just going to create this project. Let's wait for it for a few seconds. In the meanwhile, if you have any question till now, if you have interacted with the chat app, let me see if somebody did. Groups chat. Anyway, if you have interacted, do let me know in the comments how was your interaction. Okay, so now we will continue. We will start by selecting Android. We have iOS option available, web option available as well. So of course, if you want to run it on web, you will have to connect it by web. Then if you want to do for iOS, we have to connect iOS as well. In this one, we are just going to cover Android because that is something which most people will have. So yeah, so to connect our Android application, you have to open up your Android folder. Inside that, we have this app folder. Then we have this build.gradle. Now we have two build.gradle. So just so that you don't get confused, one is called the app level build.gradle, which is basically inside the app folder. Then we have a project level build.gradle, which is inside the whole project. So which is this inside this Android, right? So this is the app level. So it's actually mentioned as well when we will go for the next step. But for the package name, we have to go inside the app level build.gradle file. So over here, you will have this application ID. You just need to copy that and paste it here. The next step is this SHA1 key. So to generate this, there is a simple, let me just share that, just a second. This is a simple Stack Overflow, answer for this, so that whenever you want to release for a debug, you will use this command. Whenever you want to generate for release, you will use this and things like that. So we will use this line, generate a SHA1 key, and you just need to go to your terminal and paste that and hit enter. It will provide you the SHA1 key. You just can copy that, paste it here, and click on register app. I will try to share this link inside the GitHub repository. We will just have it in the README file, so you don't have to worry about it. Now we will need to download this Google services.json file to our app folder, right? So rather than downloading it somewhere else, then moving it to this folder, I'm just going to open this app folder inside my Finder, which is basically the Explorer of Windows. So where it is, yeah. Then I'm just going to add this. So now this particular folder is selected. So I can just directly download this Google services inside that. Okay, so we have it. And if I will go inside this, you can see we have this Google services.json file. It contains all the different values regarding your project number, project ID, and different stuff. So now you can click on next, and this is the Firebase SDK setup. So you can see now it is mentioning clearly that we want to go inside the project level build.gradle file and add this line. So it's green. This red thing is already there. This green is something which we need to add. So let me just copy that, open up build.gradle file. And as it is clearly mentioned, it is project level build.gradle file. So we will go inside this one. Okay, so we need to go inside the dependencies, which you can see here, dependencies, and then add this line and paste that. So if I will save that, that's done. Next, we will copy this line. This one is already there. So we need to go inside the project, then app level build.gradle, right? Because that is app module and then build.gradle. So if I go inside there, I can just paste it there. Okay, so the next thing is we need to import Firebase. So like, let me copy that, and we can just paste it over here, okay, where we are implementation. Now, next we will just click on next, and you are ready. We can continue to the console. So the connecting part is done. To activate the authentication, we need to go inside the authentication, and we need to manually turn on whatever we want to use. So if you want to use the email authentication, we will set that up. If you want to use Google and all that different services. So as you can see, we have a lot of different sign-in methods available, whether it is Google, Facebook, Twitter, GitHub, Yahoo, Microsoft, Apple. So all these are available. We are going to use Google, so I'm just going to enable that. This is public facing name. So whenever someone will try to log in with your Gmail, that Google sign in, then this name will be shown. So I'm just going to show group chat app DSC. Okay, so for the support email, you can just select your email and then click on save. It can take it's usually, it does not take too much time, but it can take a bit of it. Okay, so once that will be activated, we will be able to complete the sign-in steps. So now, rather than waiting for it to get done, let's start writing the code for the implementation of sign-in with Google. So I'm going to first close this Android folder. We are done with that, and move on to a new file. So I'm going to create a new file inside a new folder, which is going to be services, and I'm going to create a new file that is going to be auth.tar. So all the different functions, whether it is sign in with Google, whether it is sign out, I will be creating them over here. So I can call them from wherever I want, whether I want to sign out from my home screen, whether I want to sign out the user from the some edit profile screen, wherever I want. I can call this function and I will be able to do that function, right? So that's why I'm creating it separately rather than writing inside a particular file. This is called modularization of your code. So keep it as separate as possible. So now we are going to create a class which is going to be auth methods. And over here, we are going to start. Okay, just let me make sure this is not taking too much. Okay, so it's enabled. It was just loading. Okay, so over here, as I said, we will be creating two different separate functions. The first one will be for sign in with Google, and the second one will be for the sign out. So let me start by initializing Firebase auth. So I'll say final Firebase auth, and then I'll say auth. We need to import this. So let me just make sure we have that. Where is it? Firebase auth. Okay. So I'll write that down again. Firebase. Okay. Before we continue any further, let's first initialize Firebase, because to use any of the services, as I mentioned before, we need to first initialize with Firebase core, and to use that Firebase core, we have to initialize over here. So to initialize, there is not much of a code we need to write. It's basically 2 lines of code. We just need to say widgets, widgets flutter binding dot ensure initialize. So we are making ensuring that it is initialized, and we will wait for it to be initialized So whenever there is some function or something which will take time, then we use this await. We will use it later on as well, which will be much more clear way to understand, because this may be a little bit not exactly clear of what the initialize is happening and things like that. But for things like whenever you are uploading the data, you can understand that it will take some time for that data to be uploaded to the database. It's not going to be instant, right? So that is something where we use await. So to use await, we have to mention async, right? Like that. So now we are going to wait for Firebase dot initialize. Make sure it's importing. For some reason, it's not directly suggesting, but we can write it all. So it will be initializing, initialize app, and that's done. So let's make sure it's imported. If not, okay. So now I will move on to the auth part. Since we have initialized it successfully, I'll go inside the auth and we will write the functions for sign in and sign out. So let's start by Firebase auth dot instance. Then we will move to create a function for getting the current user. So now what will happen is later on, if somebody closes the application, so for example, he opens the app for the first time, he signs in, now he will be able to see all the groups, then he closes the application and now he will open the application again. So now this time, according to right now, he will be shown the same screen of sign in, but he actually have already signed in. So to make sure that does not happen, we are going to create a function which is going to be to get the current user, so that we can check if we have a current user or not. If we have, we will show the home screen directly. We will not ask him to sign in again and again. And if he is not, then we will show the home screen. So let me write the function for get current user. So whenever we write a function, we start by the return type of it. What is it returning? So this function is actually returning a user. So we are going to type that user. Then future is basically because it's going to take some time to get that user. It's not going to be something instant, but it's going to take some time. That's why future is there. Now this is going to be the name of the function. So get current user. Now async. Why am I using async? Because we will be using await here. Now this is basically happening because we haven't imported Firebase auth. So I'll say import Firebase auth. Make sure these are okay. So these are not successfully installed. Let's see what's the problem, because depends on Flutter test. Okay, so we will just get rid of this and then we will save that again. You need to make sure that it is exit code 0. Until and unless that is not done, it will be problem. So because of group chat depends on the test. Okay, let me just make sure. Okay, we got rid of something very important, I guess, here. Let me just put this on. We are not importing this SDK correctly. Let me just fix that quick. I will save that now. Now we have the exit code 0. So it was basically when I pasted these other dependencies, it was rewritten. Okay, so now we can close this and go back here. So now if I will type import, I will be able to import the Firebase auth. Now you can see that is gone. Now if I will say Firebase auth, we have that, and now I can just use it. Also over here, we can import Firebase now. Okay, so that's all done. Now let's continue for this get current user function. As I said, we are using async since we will be using await here. So let's just say await. And then we will use this auth, which is the Firebase auth initialization. We will use that variable and we will just say auth dot current user. This is going to provide us the current user. Okay, now it's mentioning something which is not a future. We can actually directly return that, I guess. Okay, I'm not returning. That's the problem. Okay, now it's fine. So let's continue and create the sign in with Google function. Now, one thing which should be clear, I don't think it's The thing is, whenever you are adding a sign in with Google functionality, major of the code is going to be as it is. It's not going to change. The one thing which is important about whenever you're adding authentication, whether it is Google, Twitter, any kind of authentication you're adding, what you care about is to provide the user a good, experience, that he don't have to, create a new password, email again and again. He can just use whatever he have already, right? So that is the experience you want to provide whenever you are using other authentication services. As a consumer, as a developer, what you want is just the details. If he logs in with Google, I just want to get his profile picture, his Gmail account, Gmail, and his name, right? That's what I care about. So I'm not going to write it all from scratch because we are constrained on the time. So if we have time a little bit later, I can show you writing it one by one. But basically, the one thing which we will be focusing on is explaining where we need to change. So if you are creating it for yourself, you will be able to easily use that. So let me just comment the code which is not going to be same. This one. Okay. So this whole particular section of creating sign-in with Google and build context, it's going to be same for all the cases whenever you are adding Google sign-in. This is because this is something with the package, so which we included, right? So this is not something which we will change. What we will change is this section. So once we have the result, we will get the user details from that result. So now what I'm doing is I'm checking if the result is not null, which means do we have something in result or not? If we have something, then I will do something with that data. If we don't have that, I'm just printing error no user found. So whenever I print, it will be visible in this debug console, right? So as you can see, it's right now showing this initialize app error, because whenever you do that Firebase for the installation and initialization, you should close the application and restart it again, which we will do. Let me just close that. But overall, I guess you are clear about how this is going to change. So whenever you're using, all you have to do is work over here in this else section. All the other things are already taken care of. Even we are returning the user details. So whenever, from wherever you are calling this function, you will be able to use the user details. Now, how we use that user details? With this variable, you can just say dot display name, dot photo URL, dot email, and you can use them. So this particular code, what I'm doing is basically saving all that data and then sending the user to the home screen, right? So the sending part is a bit clear, but let's understand how we are going to save the data to our local database of the mobile, and later on how we can use that. So for this, we are going to use shared preferences. So let's get back to the pub.dev, and I'm going to search for shared preferences. Okay. Now we will click on the first one. This is the one which we will be using. So to install it, we have already, done that. We have copied this section and we have that in our pubspec.yaml. So directly we will go to the documentation, and as you can see, it's very simple. You just need to initialize it, and then you can say preference dot do you want to get or set, because at the end of the day, these are the two things which you will be doing with shared preference. You are adding something, setting the value in your database for something, and then you're getting it. So it's key value pair kind of. So you have a key, and each key have a value of its own. So I can define that, for counter, I'm getting that counter value, or I am setting that counter value like this. So it's very easy, just a single 2-line of code. So rather than writing it again and again in different screen, what I am going to do is I'm going to create a new file inside a new folder. Let's call this helping or helper functions. Inside of that, I'm going to create a new file, which is going to be specially just for shared preferences functions. So shared preference dot. We will start by creating a class, which is going to be called shared preference helper. Okay. So inside of it, what we are going to do is 3 things. The first thing is we will define the keys. So these keys, you can actually directly write them by string, but it's more recommended to first define them as a static variable, which you can constant, which you can use anywhere. So it will be defined the same. It should not be changed, right? Then we will know how to save the data. Then we will see how to fetch the data. Okay, so let's start by defining that particular key. So to define that particular key, what we are going to do, we are going to just say static, and then we will say string, then the variable name. So I'm just going to say user logged in key. Now, as I mentioned, we have already created a function to get the current user, right? So usually whenever I used to, build the native Android application for checking if the user is logged in or not, usually I usually just create a constant field that is it logged in or not. And I used to check that by shared preferences. So that is something which we can do here as well. I'm just showing you if you want to use it. So for other cases where you want to, without using the oath, if you want to test if the user is logged in or not, then you can use it through this shared preferences as well. So I'm going to give it a value of is logged in. So this is a key defined, right? So let me just show you side by side so that you are much more clear. This key is nothing more than this, this counter. But the reason why I am defining it like this is so that I don't change it. So for example, if I'm using it at this place, I defined it as counter, but when I was using it this place, I misspelled it for some reason. I just said COUNTER and E. I added one more E, right? So when you will misspell, it will not work, right? So to make sure that kind of error does not happen, we will define it like this. Okay, so now next, let's see how to save the data. So for saving the data, I'm going to create a function so that I can call it from wherever I want. So I'm going to say static so that I can use it by calling this particular class and then using that function. And then I'm going to say future. Again, why I'm saying future, this is actually the return type, right? What we are going to return. Now, this is a save function, which means that we are not going to return a value. We are not asking for something. We are just saying that this is the value and I want you to save it for this particular key. So this is just going to say if it is completed successfully or not. That's all. So now the reason for future, the reason for bool was that because it is going to say it is completed or not. But the reason for the future is because it will take some time. Okay, so now let's move on and give the function a name. So I'm going to say save user logged in status. Okay, so I can call it a status or just keep it like that. Okay, now this is a save function. We are saving something. So we need to ask whenever we are calling this function, we need to provide it that particular value which we want to save. So that value will be a Boolean. So I'm going to accept a Boolean value and I'm going to provide that a name of is user logged in. So whenever you are accepting a value in your function, you can either accept arguments like this, or you can just remove that data type and you can just directly mention it like this. So when you will do it like this, it will be your function, this save user logged in. If you will call it from somewhere, it will be accepting all the values. But if I will specifically mention it is a bool, so if I will provide it a string value from some other class or wherever I'm using, it will let me know that this function only accepts Boolean. So it is a better practice if you know that this is going to be just Boolean or this is just going to be string, you can specifically mention that. Okay, so now what next? Well, simply you can see what we are doing. We are firstly initializing it. So let's just copy this particular line to initialize shared preferences. Okay, so that's how you initialize. We need to first import it. So I'm going to click on that and import shared preferences. Save that. Now await is an error because whenever we want to use await, we need to use async here. Okay, hopefully that is clear. Now this is a save function. So will we use get or we will use set? Well, we will use set, right? Because we want to say set some values. So I'm just going to copy this line. Now again, you can see we are using await here as well, even when we are setting the value, because even this process of setting the value is not something instant that you just provided the value and it will be set. That's not how it works, right? So that's why. Now this counter is nothing but the value which we want to provide. So that value is something which we are accepting here. Is user logged in? It will be in. So I'm going to copy that and paste it here. Now, rather than using this particular counter, what we are using is this value, this user logged in key. So I don't have to define it like this. I can just use that. Now it is showing error because we are saying that preference.set integer value, which means int, right? But we are providing it a Boolean value. That's why it's showing this, red squiggly line. So what I can do is I can just say here set bool. So bool means Boolean value. What is a Boolean value? True, false, right? So that is how we save the data. Now let's see how we can fetch the data. So I'm going to say static and future again because it's going to take some time, and then I'm going to say it is a Boolean, so I'm going to say bool because that's what it is going to return. Now this function is not actually going to return whether it is done or not. It is going to return whether what the value is. So I'm going to say get user logged in. And I'm going to say, we don't need to provide any value because we are just asking, right? We are not providing anything. So I'm just going to initialize shared preference again. And to use await, I'm going to use async here. And then to set the to get the value, we are going to say preference.get, like that. Now we don't just want to get that value, we want to return that via this function as well. So I'm going to say return that value. Now it's showing an error because we are returning a boolean, but this is getting the int. So I'm going to say get bool. Okay, we don't want to get counter, we want to get this user logged in key. So I'm just going to change that. Okay, now rather than doing this again and again for username, user profile picture, user key and all, I'm going to copy that all so that we can save some time here. So you can see, similar to is logged in, we defined a key for the username, for email, UID, and profile pic. Now, similar to that of save data for that, we will create functions for others as well. So let me just quickly copy all of that and paste it. So nothing's different. Just you can see we are just defining that, and then we are returning it. We are waiting for that value, so that is something which was not added. But yeah, that's how basically all the functions are. These are the functions for saving the data, and these are the functions for getting the data. One extra thing is this clear function. So whenever we are logging someone out of our application, so he is signing out, we want to clear all the data in the shared preference. So how do we do that? We will say we will do the same thing. We will first initialize, then we will say preferences dot clear, right? So I hope hopefully all this shared preference thing is clear now. So let's move on to that, our authentication part. Let me just uncomment this all. Let me add this is actually a comment. So yeah, now to use all of those functions, we are going to import them. So I'm going to import this shared preference helper, which was this particular class. We will use this class to access all the different functions inside of it. So you can see now I'm saving the user logged in to true, because whenever we are successfully logged in, we have the user info, we know that he has logged in, and I'm setting the email, display name, photo URL, and UID. Next, whenever we want to navigate to the next screen, how do we do that? We use navigator for that. So I'm going to say navigator dot. There are a lot of different ways we can go about going to the next screen. It can be by removing the before screen. It can be by removing all the before screen. It can be by just going above that screen when you have some option to go back, right? So we want that whenever you're going from sign in screen to some other screen, we don't want a user to go back, right? That's why we will use a push replacement here, which will just replace the screen which was there and push the next screen. So now it will accept context, and then we will provide a route to it. So this is going to be a material page route. It's the default route how we see, going from one page to another. If you want to change the animation of that, there are packages available for that, but we are going to use the default one. So I'm just going to say builder and then provide the context that I want to go from here to here. So I want to go inside home. Now home is not imported, that's why it's showing error. So let me just import that and save it all. And let me uncomment the sign out function, in which we are not doing too much, but basically we have this try catch to make sure if something is not there, something is causing problem, it should not crash our application. But what we are doing is we are calling that clear data function from here, that if the user want to sign out, we will just remove all of its information, and then we will call the sign out function, right? So that's basically how it is working. Let me just save that. Now this sign out and this sign out is actually different, just to be clear. This sign out is something which we created, and this sign out is something which we get with Firebase package. So this is going to sign out from the Firebase oath. Let me close that. We have already taken enough time for the authentication. So let's move on to the next steps. Okay, so where is our application? Here it is. Let me just quickly run that. some questions which I would like to ask answer. That there are some questions like which package manager we are using. So we use that pub.dev, like we have npm. You use that. We use that. And as for the API keys and all, we don't have to. Like if I'm installing Google Sign-in individually, then we have to do all of that setup. Even for the web, if I'm doing web with Firebase, I will be required to set up that keys and set up which domain we want to, but it will not be required for that. So the APIs keys will be something which is handled by Firebase, so not something which we need to have must. Okay, so for this emulator, you are required to download Android Studio. For major part, you may not use it, use Android Studio, or you may, because I actually started with native Android, so I was using it mostly Android Studio, but later on I moved on with VS Code for me mostly, but I do use Android Studio. But for this emulator, you will be required to have a Android Studio download. So let's just wait for a second or so that it's installing, and I hope everything till now is clear. So let me just make sure it's running. Okay, so we face an error. Yeah, this is something which is going to happen all the time whenever you are using Cloud Firestore, which is a multi-dex error. So let's fix that quick. We need to go inside Android, go inside app, build a .gradle, and over there we need to add multi-dex to be true. So this is very standard of how we add that. We need to first enable multi-dex. So I'm going to do that. The main thing which we cannot, is this implementation. So we will add this multi-dex enabled to be true, and we will add this implementation. You don't have to remember this. You can just, whenever you face this multi-dex thing, either you can remember. I usually just, have this whenever I search multi-dex, Google have it prepared for me to at the first position what I want. So yeah, but major of the time it's just you need to add this multi-dex true and implementation. You can remember this implementation line if you want, and just add it. Now let's run this again and let's see if we have any other error. So yeah, coding. Yeah. Let me just wait for it a second or so. Okay, so now it's launched. So we will be watching what? We will have a home screen. So in home screen, you can see we have nothing but the app bar. So we will have nothing right now, nothing for the sign in. So what we want is go inside the home. I want to show sign in first, right? So let me just change that to sign in. And you can see it already imported that automatically. If it doesn't for you, then just select that and import it. I can remove home now. We can keep that because later on I will be adding a condition that when to show home and when to show sign in. So let me just save that. And now this is a sign in screen. Now I know that it's just same. So let me just add it in the app bar itself. So you can see it is a sign in screen. Okay, so inside sign in screen, I want the body. So all of this white space you can see, this is the body of that particular widget, right? So inside that body, I want a button, which is going to be a raised button. So as I said before, there are a lot of widgets pre-built for us. We don't have to create them from scratch. One of which is button. So raise button is something where we just have to provide what is it inside that button. So you can see some button have icon, images, some button have just text, right? So this particular button of our will be just a text, and it's going to say sign in with Google. You can keep this capital or small, your preference. Okay, so you can see that button. Now you can see that it's gray. It does not look like we can click on it, and neither there is any elevation. The reason for that is if you are creating a raised button, it should have something to do when we click on it. There should be a on pressed property. So we will provide that. We will say on pressed, do this. So inside of this, if I write print, it will print. If I will write call this function, it will call that function. So let me save that. Now, right now, it looks like somebody just throw it away in the corner. We need to get it in the center to look good. So I'm going to just wrap this particular raised button in a widget, which is called center. That's let me just fix that. center, and it will be aligned in the center. So you can see how easy it was to align it in the center. There are different options which you can use. This is the very easy, easiest one. You can just wrap it in the center and it will align that accordingly. So now we have our sign in with Google button here. Let's just call that function which we created inside the auth.dart. So I'm going to say, what did we name? Auth method, auth methods, I guess. Yeah, auth methods dot sign in with Google. It will accept the context, and let me just save that. So now if I will reload and click on sign in with Google, we can see we have this option available. Now I can select one of my accounts. Let's go with this one. And once I will select that, I'll be able to sign in, and we have the home screen here. So just to be clear that this is a home screen, let me add that. And you can see it's a home screen. So now let's quickly build that, tile where we can click that, this is the name of the group. This is the description of the group. So I'm going to say column. Why am I using column? Well, whenever we want to structure widgets in a vertical manner, we use column. So over here, we will have a list of these different tile. Tile by tile, I basically means that list item, that particular a single group information list item. That's so we will have all these widgets vertically aligned. So let me show you one so that you can get a very clear picture. We also have a list tile widget which have this title property. So you can just always click on it. You can see it has this title property. So you can provide the title property here, which accepts our text. So I can say, what should I name? So let's just name it Flutter Dev Connect. Just a group where all the Flutter devs connect. Let me just give it a space, and you can see we have the group title available. Now, one thing which you can notice is I didn't provided any padding. I didn't say that, there should be this much space from above, there should be this much space from side. That is something which is handled by list style. Also, list style consists of this subtitle. So I can just go inside of it and can say subtitle, and then I can provide a text widget to it. And over here, I can say community of Flutter developers. This is basically the description of your group. And I can save that, and you can see it's visible. I didn't define that I want this to be a little bit smaller or this one to be a little bit larger. It's all taken care by these pre-built widgets, right? We can obviously create them from scratch, but right now we can just create. So I can just, create them as many as I want. Making sure I am separating them by a comma. So you can see we have all these different groups. Now this can be our Flutter Chandigarh group. And I don't want to miss this. Okay, just a second. Okay. And we have any other groups, DSC WOW, you can mention. But yeah, you get the point, right? We can have as many groups we want, like that. Okay, so we will just work with a single group right now, since we have a bit time constraints. So we are just going to wrap it with a widget. Why am I wrapping it with a widget? Now the next step is I want, whenever someone click on this, I want to do something, right? To provide that on-click property, we use something called gesture detector. Now, by the name of this widget, I guess it's clear that it's detecting the gestures, right? So not only just the on tap, you have a lot of options available on double tap cancel, tap down, tap, a lot of things. We are just going to use the simplest one, on tap, which means what will happen once someone clicks on it. So what I want to happen is I want to just navigate to the next screen, which is this conversation screen, which we created. Okay, so I'm just going to say navigator, sorry. And I'm going to say, now there is a decision. Do you want to replace this? Do you want the user to be able to go from conversation screen back to this screen or not? So for our case, we do want that user should be able to just click on back and come back to this whole list of groups when he will click back from conversation screen. So for that reason, I'm going to use push, which is going to just put that particular screen above this one, right? So when I use push, I'm going to use the default root. So I'm going to say material, page, root, and then I'm going to use the builder. This is just a defined terminology, nothing too much to understand. Just understand this, that we are going from context, which means this particular screen, to, let's say, conversation screen. Okay. Okay, so there is a question, what are the things we need to know if we are not using Firebase, like we are creating from scratch? So the thing is, Firebase is just a database, right? So you can do all of this with a local database, right? You can create an application where everyone can send a message, but from your mobile only, right? The data will be saved on your mobile. But the reason why we are using Firebase is because Firebase makes it very easy for using the database. You don't have to create it from scratch. Other than using other services where you are going to create the database by yourself as well, right? So that is not something which we have to do. All the database things are taken care by Firebase. We just have to focus on the front end, and we can just call those functions for Firebase to add the data, fetch data, and it will take care of it. So yes, if we don't want to use Firebase, there are other services available which we can use, or you can use just your local database. For our application, we do require the user to be, not even me, all the people who are, visiting the website or accessing the app should be able to add the data. That's why it's a global database. Other than that, this list style works like div. So for div, not exactly, because if you use div in HTML, CSS, it does not have these, that if you provided a paragraph or something, it will define a particular font size of it. Think of list style as something, not exact. I'm not too much aware about HTML, CSS, but as much as I am, I don't think there are, widget. You can think of it like, buttons and all. You have button, you have progress bar, right? So they know what they are. They are defined separately. So that's how list style is. So list style is defined this way, that it will have a text at the top, which will be a little bit bigger in size, and it will have a description, which will be a little bit smaller in size. So that's how these are. So not exactly like div, but like other elements. Okay, so now we have the list style, we have provided the navigator. So if I will click on it, we are on the blank screen, which was the same for home and sign in before. So let's go to the conversation screen, and we can see it is just the container, and that's why it's blank. So first we will get rid of container and use a scaffold, which will make it white. And then we will use an app bar widget, which will accept and title. And in the title, I'm just going to use a text widget and say something like, let's chat. Just to make sure this is a conversation screen, we are clear. Now, one thing which you should notice is we have this back button. I didn't said that, yeah, you know what, let's add back button. I didn't mention it anywhere. So how does this work? Well, because in this particular list tile, in the home screen, where is it? This one. I said that I want to push the next screen above the one we have already. So I want to provide that back option. So that's why it is already understanding and giving us this option. Now, the best part is, as I said before, for the app bar, if we have this on iOS, it will be icon for iOS, and like everything which are default will be taken care for all these platforms separately. So we don't have to especially mention, because in iOS, that arrow does not have this, tail kind of. So all the different icons will be taken care of for different platforms. So now you know why we have a back button. If we don't want to, we can just say push replacement. It will stop us to be going back from that screen. Once you are in the conversation, you can just exit the app, or just close the app. You cannot go back to the list of it. Then you have to open it again, obviously, then you can. So if I will save that and go back, and now if I will click, you can see we don't have that back button. So now I hope that push and push replacement is clear. So let me add that back. Now if I will go back, it will just close the application. So that was not a very good idea. We need to start it again. Let's just go and do that. But now I hope this is very clear what is push and what is push replacement. So let's move on to the chat conversation screen, which is the most important part when it comes to Firebase database. So before we write any code to add database or fetch, let's see how Firebase database looks like, so that we can get familiar with it, understanding how we have structured it and how exactly are we fetching the data or getting adding the data to it. So let me first click on Cloud File Store. This is the database which we will be using. There is a real-time database available as well. Most probably this is the a better user because it has better queries and stuff. So this is what is more popular right now. You can discuss about different things according to your requirement, but this is going to be much more better. So I'm going to start in a test mode. The reason for that is we will be able to use it without being authenticated for the next 30 days. But actually we have added the authentication, so we can go with this production mode. Let me just click on next and click on enable. So just wait for it to get set up by Firebase. One thing which I think was like in production, they don't even allow even if you're logged in. So let me make sure with that rules. So just give it a second to set up. Now, if you have used any kind of SQL type database, I just want to be clear that this is a no SQL database. So there will be no something like, yeah, if you have used SQL, you will have a better understanding. But yeah, so the structure is very different. Like we have a collection in documents. So first, let's make sure the rules. So just close that. Okay, so you can see allow, read, write if false. So they are just saying don't allow read and write. So that's not exactly what we want. We want that we can have the authentication requirement, but rather than complicating it, I'm just going to make it true, which means allow everyone to read and write to the database. That's not something recommended. You should have something like authentication. We can actually set it for exactly every particular path. So for example, I can create a collection here that can be group chat. And next, inside that group chat, we can have a lot of documents. So how I am thinking of organizing my group chats is organizing them by groups. So let's create a document for a single group. So we can create an automatic ID, which we can call a group ID, and we can provide it fields. So like the group name, group description, and things like that. For now, I'm not going to fetch them from the database. I'm just going to hard code them just so that it's much more flexible for you to implement the adding of more groups. But yeah, you can add the fields of like group name, and you can give it the group name like Flutter Dev. And then you can provide a description here, and that can be this is description. This can be fetched as well, but what we are going to do, we are going to add a collection which is going to be chats, and inside that chats collection we can have as many like unlimited amounts of documents, and each document will represent a single chat message. With each message, the different details which I want to be saved are, the first one is when was this chat message created. So that will be create timestamp. So I can say create timestamp. So that is going to be a number, and let me copy a sample number so that I can show you. Yeah, this is. So this is basically time in milliseconds. When you will do date.now in your web application, but I'll show you in Dart one as well. So this is basically when the that particular message was sent. So by this we can make sure the alignment of this message should be at the top or it should be at the bottom accordingly. Next we have the message. So let's say this message was hello everyone. Then we have another field for profile picture. So I can say user profile pic. So over here I'm just providing the profile pic which I will be showing at the side. So let me just copy a sample profile pic URL. This is just a URL, so let me just show you how it is. So this is just a profile picture, right? Nothing extra. Okay. Now the next field is going to be the username. So this is not something I'm showing. So you can, not a must, username, and that can be hello. No, it should be like, for example, subscribe to that. See, now let's see this again. What did happen? Well, this was collection. Inside collection, we can have as many documents as we want. Then inside each document, we can have collections and fields. So document can have its own properties, its own values, which is key value pairs. And it can also have a collection. So this is kind of a loop. You can see, collection can have document, and document can have collection, and that collection can have document, and document can have collection. So you can go as deep as you want, but this is not something which you may find it a bit confusing maybe when using for the first time. But once you will try to use it for your own use case, think of how you should structure your own data, it will be much very clear and very easy to understand how exactly things are arranged here. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fetch all these chats, which are this particular one we created, and more and more. So let's see how we can do that inside our Flutter application. So let's get back in here. This is the conversation screen. Let me close all the other files. And in this one, what we are going to do is we are going to add, first of all, a list view. So we are not logged in. First, let me just log in. Okay, so we were logged in with a Google account, so it was selected automatically. If I click on the first one, we are inside the this chat conversation screen. Okay, so let's move on to the body section of this one, body, and then we will have a container. Now, I use container for the, whenever I start this body section of any screen or widget, just to give it different properties. So if you want to give it a background color, so I just want to give a color of, let's say, green, just to show you, I can just give it a color of background. So if I want to give it some padding, if I want to give it some margin, we can get a lot into it, but yeah, that's why I usually use a container. So next, what we will have inside that, we will have a child, and inside that we want a list view. But we don't want our list view to be static. We want our list view to be updated whenever we receive a new chat message, right? So for that, we will use something called stream builder. To understand the stream builder, you need to understand what is a stream. So to think of a stream, you can think of it something like, think of that you are one, and you have your friend who is standing, who is above the mountain, right? And there is a river which is flowing from the top of the mountain to the bottom, and you are standing in the bottom, and your friend is at the top. Now, what happened is, like, your friend have a lot of color left from the last Holi and something, and he want to just throw it away. So what he did, he just throw it in the river, and now, since the river is flowing from the top to bottom, what will happen is, for after some time, you will be able to see that color, right? Because it's flowing. So that's kind of how the stream of data works, that we have all that data here, right? This is the stream of data which is flowing in our application. Whenever if I will add something here, it will be reflected instantly in our application, right? So you can think it of that, and yeah, that should give you a view of how stream works. So now let's create the stream builder. Then, so stream builder, it will ask for a builder stream first of all, right? So how do we provide the stream? Well, stream is nothing but basically the, as I said, the Firebase data which we are going to fetch, which is going to consistently provide us the updates. What is getting update, right? So let me just type it out. Firebase. We want to use Firebase Firestore. So we will say Firebase Firestore. To get this data, we need to first define from where do we want to get the data. So we will be, first of all, we will go inside this main, the Firebase instance, it's called. So I'll say instance. Then inside the instance, which is basically this particular path, the main path before this group chat. So group chat is something which is inside of it. So now I can go instance dot collection. As I said, this is a collection. What is the name of this collection? It's group chat. So I will say group chat. And inside that collection, I can say dot document. What is the name of that document? This is the ID. So I can paste it here. And I can say dot. Well, we want to go inside the chats, and then we want to access all these chats. So I can say inside of that, I want to go inside the collection, and that collection is called chats. So I can just say chats chats. Okay, so now we have given the path, but one thing which I mentioned before was we are using this, create timestamp to order all of these, right? So what I want to do is I want to order them descending. So I will just say dot order by, and we will provide the field name. So that is this create timestamp. And if you want to provide it descending, I'll say descending. and make it true. So far it is showing error because this is not a stream, this is just a path, and we mentioned that we want to get the data by this order. But now what I will say, dot snapshot, and now it is a stream. So now it is showing an error because we don't have a builder yet. So we will define a builder. Inside the builder, builder will accept a build context, and then it will accept have a async snapshot. So I'll say async, and we can just name it snapshot. So this is the data which we have, by the data which we are getting from this stream, which we will use to show the data in a list view. So I'll just do that and then say return. Now, if we don't have the data, because I would like to make this very clear, this is a data from our database, right? It will take some time to get that data. So initially this data which we have in a snapshot will be nothing. It will be null. So if we try to fetch data or like show that data, since it is null, it will cause some errors. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to first make sure I have data. So I will say snapshot dot has data. This is a property which is, we already have. We don't have to create that, but we can use that. So now I'm using this question operator. So let me show you how this works. It works like this. Okay, we have something we want to do. So we will have a condition. We can say question mark. If that condition is true, we will do this. If that is false, then we will do this. Okay, so that is what I'm saying. So snapshot.data, this is a condition which is returning a Boolean, right? That does it have data or does it not? If it has data, then I would like to go on and just show that list. So I will say a container, or we can just directly show the list. So list view dot builder, right? Inside of that, list view builder needs two properties first, which is going to be item count. So item count, we are just going to say snapshots dot data dot docs dot length. Okay, and then what we are going to do is we are going to provide an item builder. Inside item builder, we will have a context and the index of that particular one. Okay, now this item builder is nothing but it's actually the builder. Builder means it's building the whole list. So it will have the individual parts, which are the list items, and it will build the list from it. So that's why we have an index of each and every item. So now I can say return. Now, before I return anything, we should just go ahead and create a sample list item, because I'm not going to use the list style here again, which was the default one, which we have already. We just have to pass in the title and description, but we are going to create something custom for us. Now, I am creating a stateless widget now. Why? Because this widget is just going to accept the data and just show it as it is. It's not going to change. It's not going to be updated. Now, I'm going to call this messages file. Okay, so this is basically, since it's showing the messages and tile is something which I provide the name like this, you can name it whatever you want, right? Okay, so it was basically, if you have seen the application, it was simply like we have a profile picture here and we have the message. So it was a horizontal alignment of widget. For the horizontal alignment of widget, we use row. Now I can say children's. We will start by providing an image here. So I'm going to say image dot. We are using the image with a URL. So I'm going to use this network. If we have that from our file, we will use that, and so on. So let me be a bit quick. I think we are a bit delayed than in time. So we want to accept some values for each and every message. The first one will be the profile picture, and the second one will be the message. Okay, so like, let's just use that profile picture to show that network image, and then use a text widget to show the message. So I'm just going to copy the message, and there it is. Now, to accept this message, we need to define a constructor for this message style, which is going to be like this dot message and this dot profile pic. Now, the reason why I use these curly braces is because of using a named parameters, which means now whenever I will be using this, for example, I'm using it here, I don't have to just provide that 1 and second. So I can make a mistake and provide message after and profile pic before. But because I have added those, I will first select that it is a message and then provide it, right? So this way I can make sure I don't provide a wrong value to it. Okay, so now what we are going to do is inside of it, we will create a document snapshot from our snapshot which we have here. So I'll say document snapshot, just call it DS for now, and we will say snapshot dot data dot documents, and then provide the index. This is the document snapshot. Basically, document snapshot is nothing. It's like clicking a picture of a document. So we have a list of all these documents, and I'm just going in. I'm saying at position number 0, I'm getting the document, click a picture and give me the data of that. So that's basically what it is. So I have the document now. So inside the document, what I want this message. So what is the name or the key of that message? It's message. So you can just go here, copy that key, paste that key inside string. And then we want to provide the profile picture. So I'm just going to copy that, copy its key, and then provide that as document snapshot. So that is document snapshot. And then I can just save like this. So we have an error, and that is because of a semicolon, I guess. Just a second. We have missed a semicolon somewhere. So let's make sure where it is missing. Okay. So we can just end that. Okay, so semicolon is not missing, but the false condition is we have provided that condition, and then we have this true thing. And what will happen if it's not there? I'll just show a circular progress indicator. So I'll wrap it inside a container, and I'll say circular progress indicator. And if I will save that, just get rid of that, add a semicolon, save that, get back to it, reload the application. Okay, so we need to first restart this. So let me just go back and restart that. Cancel. We have some errors. So let's make sure we don't. Child. Okay, so this was basically whenever we are adding something to container, we need to mention it's a child of it. These are just basically adding unused imports. You can get rid of them if you want. Okay. Okay, so if we now I'm answering the questions which we have. So if we are using access tokens keys, how can we export it to GitHub? So these keys are not something which are going to be added to GitHub or something. These are something which you will add to Firebase. I hope you're asking about SHA1 key. In that case, that's the answer, that SHA1 key will be added to Firebase, not in your GitHub repository or something. So it will be fine. So now let me click on the first one. So you can see now, we have this circular progress indicator, and then we have the message there. So let me just quickly make it a little bit looking good. We don't have much time. So let's just add one thing first, that adding the message thing, right? We want to be able to type some message, and then we will have a send button here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first close the stream builder. We are done with that for now, and just wrap it inside a stack. For example, I can just say wrap it with a widget. Now, not directly with the stack. Well, what we want to do now is we want to have a message box here, right? Where we can type in the message, and we can then have a button which we can just click, and it will add the message to our database. So we are successfully able to fetch the data, but now we want to be able to add the data to our database. So there are multiple ways to do that. You can either have them aligned one above the other, like all of these chats will be there, and then that is aligned here. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wrap or take this stream builder from here to here, just cut it, the whole stream builder. And I'm going to use something called a stack. Now, what is a stack? So we discussed about two different widgets till now. Like for alignment, the one was row and one was the column, right? Stack is the another one. So when do we use a stack? When do we use row columns? Row column was very clear, aligning horizontal and vertical. But for stack, if you want to align something one above the other, so if you have used native Android, there's something called relative layout, right? So if you want to align something one above the other, then we will use a stack. Think of it like a sandwich. If you want to align something above one above the other, right? You're not aligning it one side by other or one above the other, like above, I mean in a single dimension. I hope that's making sense. Like above in the sense of sandwich, one above the other, and there is other kind of above as well when you are aligning things vertically. So in stack, what we are going to do, we are going to just put a send option here. So let's just do that. So I'm just going to create a container. Inside that container, I'm going to have a child, which is a row. What is a row? Row is basically when we want to align two widgets horizontally. So widgets is, one is the text input. A second, I'm getting, yeah, it's a text field, sorry. So now the text field is going to have a little bit of decoration if you want. Decoration is nothing, but I'm just input decoration. This is to add the hint text decoration, and we can now add a hint text here. So it can be message. Now, whenever you are using a text field inside a row, make sure to wrap that text field, wrap with a widget, expand it like this. So we have the text field over here, you can see, but that's not where we want. We want it to be at the bottom. So what can we do? Well, one option is that you can align it by wrapping this container inside another container, so like that container. And then you can say in that container that alignment of the child of that container dot bottom center. So if I will save that, you can see it's at the bottom. So hello, like that. Okay, so now we want a button to be able to send that message. So we are inside the row, so we can add something at the side of it. So I'm using an icon. So to use an icon, it's very simple. Just provide icon, and we have material icons available. To use the material icons, you just have to say icons, and I want to use a send button. So this is the button which I'll use. I'll save that, and we have a send button available as well. We just want a little bit of a padding so that it does not look too much sticking to the ends. So I'm just going to say edge insets dot. Now, there are a lot of ways. Since we don't have too much to discuss, so let's just discuss what we are using. We are using symmetric. So symmetric means if you want padding from sides and the top, right? So if I want from sides, so I can just say horizontal, and I want 16. So this means we will have 16 from left and right, and I can mention something from vertical, like 8. So that will be something from top and bottom. So you can see we have this now. We can type in a message, we can send, but nothing is going to happen when we click on it right now. So let's do something when we click on it. So how do we add an on click? We will wrap the widget in a gesture detector, and then we can use a on tap functionality. On tap, that's all. Yeah. So what do I want to do? Now this is a function where we want to add something to our database. So I'm just going to create a function to add message to DB. So this function is basically going to do one thing, and that is adding the data to our database. So where is our database? Over here. This data, this particular message, I added it manually going to the database. We don't want our user to go inside the database and add like that, right? We want him to be able to add data from here. So how exactly are we going to do that? We will just create a function which will accept the values. What are the values? Values is basically what he have input in that field. To get that value, what he have input in that text field, we have to create something called text field text input editor. It's called text editing controller, I guess. Yeah, text editing controller is equals to new text editing controller. This is basically controlling what you're typing. So now if I provide that, so where is it? We have it here, this text field. Now I can say controller, and I can provide that controller. So now what I will be able to do, I can just say text editing controller dot text, and I will be able to know what is written on that text field. So now I can add that. So over here, we will just say Firebase Firestore dot instance. Why again instance? Because I want to go inside my Firestore, And then inside the instance, I will go inside the collection. Which collection? This one. Where is it? This group chat. I want to go inside that. Okay, you are inside that. Where now? We want to go inside a document. Which one? This one. So we will use that document key. Now, of course, like whenever you are going to add functions to add multiple groups, you are going to use these by variables, not directly hard coding. So yeah, then we want to go inside this chat. So I will say dot collection, and we will say chats, and inside that I want to add some value. So there are multiple ways to add a value. You can just provide this document ID yourself or let Firebase do it. So we are going to directly add it. So I'm just going to say add, and this accepts a map. What is a map? Map is nothing but a key value pairs. So let me just say it like that. And what are the keys? So the first key is this create timestamp. So I'll say create timestamp. Now to get the timestamp, we are using a local time right now, local time of that particular device. You can also use something from Firebase as well, that whenever the data is added, Firebase will use its own timing so that we can make sure, the change in time does not matter. So yeah, then we will have a message. So what is the message? So for message, we have created this text editing controller dot text. We can get the message. Okay, once we have the message, we will also like to have the user profile picture. Where can we get that? Well, we saved it in our shared preferences. So we can say await, which is going to wait till we get that. So just use the async here, await get profile. So we need to first use shared preference helper dot get profile pic. Where is it? Get profile pic. This is going to return us the profile picture. Next, what we want is a user ID. So this is something which I haven't added, but if you want to know if it is sent by me and want to show it at one side, then other, then you can add this as well. So we are not using it for now. So let's just skip that. Okay, so we are adding these three values. Which one am I missing? Username. So let me just add that user. What is it? Name. Where is it gone? Username, and we are going to say we want to get that from the shared preference. I'm going to say shared preference helper dot get user name, where we have it. Okay, so now we are adding all of these values, but we want to wait for it to perform the next action, which is I want to remove the text from that text field. I will say text is equals to nothing, right? So that he can write another message. Okay, so now I have removed that. What do I want? One more thing which I wanted was to scroll to the bottom, but I think that's mostly good enough for now. Let's just test it out first if it is working. So I'll say thanks for the update. I hope back soon. I will whatever. So if I'll click on it, I need to call this function. So I need to go here and add it here. I hope this is clear. I'm not just typing it. What I was missing was I was not calling the function when I'm clicking on it. So that's why nothing was happening. So now if I will click on it, so the data is added and it is clear from here. We need to just give it some UI. So I need to make sure. Okay, so since there is a quiz at 8:30, let me just complete this UI section and we will be good to go. So let me just show you how we do. So the first thing which I want is I want this image to be in circular. That looks better, right? So before circular, I want to give it a fixed height and width. So height, let's just go with something like 40. I think that will be fine. Let's go with 50. Yeah, that looks better. So I want a little bit of a space like we did for this one. I'm going to go inside the container, give it a padding. This is how we give padding or margin. First, we say edge insets. Then if we want to provide it symmetrically from side, we can provide it how I showed you before. Now let me show you some other options. So let's say we want to provide it only. So only will give you an option to provide the padding from individual sides. So I can just say I want 8 from top, I want from bottom I want 8, from left I want, let's say, 16, and from right I want 16. So I actually have done the same thing which I did before while using the symmetric, but this time I was using only so I can provide individual ones, right? So you can see we have some spacing going on here. Now I can provide it a width as well, so that we can make sure the image does not stretch. So we have the fixed square size image. Now let's make it circular. So to make an image circular, just wrap it in a widget which is called clip r rect. Inside of that, you can just say border radius dot circular, and let's just go with 8, for example. 8 is actually too low. We can go with something like 24. So you can see, like, you can give the border radius according to your requirements. If you are thinking this looks good, go ahead, right? So let's just save that. I also want some spacing between the message and the profile picture. And I don't know, now it looks a little bit big, so I'm just going to save it like that and give a little bit of space. To provide the space, there are multiple options again, but this is the best option you can. So since we want a horizontal space, we will use a sized box and provide it a width. So how much width I want, I can just play around with this number, but I think 8 will be good enough. Maybe 16. So 16 is fine. Now this overflow issues happens, but let me just quickly end this with a background color for it. So I'm going to wrap it inside a container, and inside that container, I'm going to give it a gray color. Let me grab that color code because that one looks good only. So this is nothing but if I provide the color, I can just say colors dot gray. So I can use these color, but they are a bit too dark. I have grabbed the color code of how Facebook Messenger uses. So let me just, so this is how we use the material color, right? We can just say colors and provide the color name. If you want to use a hex code, so like this is a hex code, right? So if you want 1, 2, 3, yeah, so this is a hex code. If you want to use it, you can just say color 0xff. This is defining that it is at 100% opacity, and then you can paste the hex code. So yeah, this kind of is a very light gray and looks a bit better. Let's just provide it a good padding and a border radius. So I'll say edge insets, and let's use another option. We have used whatever we used. We have used symmetric and we have used only. Now let's use all. So all will provide padding from all the sides. So let's say I want padding from all the sides around 8. It's a message, so I guess it would be better to have a little bit different, but I guess this works. So now I want to provide a border radius. So whenever we want to add a border radius to a container, we will use decoration, box decoration, and then I'll say border radius dot circular, and let's just go with 24. And there we have it. Okay, one thing you need to always make sure whenever you are using decoration, don't use color outside. Let me just save that inside the box decoration, provide the color, and there we have it. I can fix this error, but I think we are quick on time. Let me just answer one question. Okay, so for the link, we will add all the links, whether it is for the demo, for the packages, and one more, for hex code, like multi-text and all. We will add all the links in the README file, so you can just start it and make sure to click on watch so that you can be kind of notified whenever it's updated and things like that. So yeah, that will be all taken care of. Other than that, I hope you are clear of how we can add data to Firebase, like how easy it is. Like, I just want you to think of it for a second. What we did, we just have to mention Firebase file store dot instant, provide the address. It's like sending a mail or something like that. You're just providing where you want the data to be, and it's all there, right? So that is the benefit of Firebase, and that is one of the biggest reason why you will see a lot of people talking about using Firebase as a database. While some people do say that when you scale, it becomes too much expensive and things like that. But at the end of the day, why Firebase is really popular is because they have made using database so simple. You don't have to create it from scratch, right? So that's one thing. For the overflow, you can fix that. Let me just fix that quick. Where is the message? We can just wrap it in expanded. I think that should work. Okay, just a second. Yeah, so these things which we can fix, but for now, I guess we can play with this application. Okay, so now Can somebody help me with the end presentation? Okay, so we have successfully built the application. Now there's a cute little fluttery bird. Just okay. So if you want to learn more, if you want to build real world application with Flutter, we have this Smart Flutter Bootcamp which I have created. It's a compilation of 5 different courses which I created for building wallpaper app, building a chat application, building a blog application, and 2 more. So you will be using APIs, you will be using database. So that is something which you can enroll. You can visit flutternerd.com to enroll on that, and the links will be also in the Discord which we will have. So let me show you the Discord link now. So let me tell you more about it. So first day, we will learn about the news application with news API, and then we will build a blog application with Firebase. And then we will build a recipe application. We will be using API as well here. Then we will build a to-do web application. So many people are really interested on, how we can build web applications with Flutter. Now, obviously, it's not at that mode, but yeah, you can use it right now. It's in beta. So you can just give it a try as well. You can learn that. Then we will be building a full-fledged chat application. This one which I showed you right now, it was a group chat application, but this one was like fully working Instagram DMs. So you can search someone by username, send them a message, he will be able to reply you, and things like that. So yeah, definitely if you're interested to learn more, you should visit that. So to enroll, you can just visit bit.flutter-cht. This is our Discord. All the links will be available for even our repository and well. To learn more about me, you can visit my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Sanskar Tiwari and github.com/The Indian App Guy. So hope you enjoyed. It was a hell of a long session, and yeah, so do let me know in the comments, and you can always reach out to me and let me know.
That was really great, sir. You have also answered the questions very well, and our audience is very happy with the whole
Yeah.
session. Thank you so much for the amazing session, and thank you so much for enlightening us. And that was really great. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
So, Piyush, so it's another day and another end of the day.
Yep. Totally.
Let's continue. So finally, I
Finally,
hope
it's the
you
day
all.
over.
Mhm.
Finally, it's our day over, and let's give a huge shout out to our sponsors who
Sure.
sponsored us.
So we have our title sponsor, SkillerEdge. We have then our platinum sponsors, Airmeet, DevFolio, Pratilipi, Mysuru Tourism, and our gold sponsor, Nextax.
Snapchat.
So just giving a small introduction to all of our sponsors. We have Airmeet, where we will be using, which we will be using during the hackathon interactions with our experts. Nextax is the organization that provides you great courses to learn from them and get upskilled.
And Mysore is we also have a problem statement in hackathon for Mysore tourism. You can build a web app or a Android app for them, and you can get a chance to win 100 USD dollars, as well as we have prize money for runner-ups too. Like first runner-up will get 75 USD, and the second runner-up will get 59 USD. So that's it.
That's great. And at the end, we have Pratilipi. Pratilipi is India's largest digital platform connecting readers and writers in 12 Indian languages. So let's end our session here. And it's been a long one. Kudos to the entire team of DSC WOW working behind the screen. I would like to thank you all for being such a great audience. Signing out for the day. We will meet you all tomorrow with with other great sessions.
Thank you and
Thank
bye.
you, everyone. Bye-bye.